getting a lot of Welcome, everybody, to The Live. This is DJ Cafe with my friend and co-host, Jazzy Jake, who's just walked out of the room. We will begin in approximately 5 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat at any time. Excited that you're here. Get ready and buckle up.
Do we want to block this off when we start?
We probably will always consider that one. On this one, this is a new for online, right?
They both will be.
Does one of them have the full screen here? Like the full?
No, I've talked to
distinct-
Tyler about that. It's hard to do it.
I'm wondering if is this one possible to zoom out a little bit?
So they can see the deck. Tell me when you're ready.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How we feeling? Okay, hold on. Hey, we did choose to do this event on a Friday night for a reason. How are we doing? All I was told is at the end of this, for those that know Jai Dion, he's gonna just love this. He's throwing a party at his house after. It's gonna be a good time. So, hey, thank you for coming to our first Smart Money event of 2024. We did not do one in Q1, so we're actually really excited for tonight. Tonight, what makes tonight special, we did a survey of 2023. We had 4 speakers come. They were all incredible, amazing. We did a survey, and that survey had a popular vote. And the individual who had the most influence and helped kind of influence our organization, we've asked him to come back to kick off 2024. So we're really excited to hear from him. What I want everyone to have kind of in their mind as we get into tonight, those that are virtual, we welcome you. Thank you for being here as well. And those that are here in person, you guys are taking some time to invest in yourself, and I'm proud of you for taking the time tonight to do that. What I would tell you is the way you approach tonight will still make the difference of what you receive. There's a difference between listening to understand or listening to respond. Tonight you're going to hear some things that maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't, but there is something that you're going to be able to take from tonight. A little bit about our speaker. His name's Ryan Lee. What's cool about Ryan Lee, he now owns a company that he's owned and operated for over 10 years. Since he has started and kind of developed the company, he's now made some big partnerships. Okay, one of my favorite books that I've read, I say 2 books changed my life. One of the books was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, if I raise your hand, anyone have read that book before? Okay, by Robert Kiyosaki, incredible author. Robert Kiyosaki, Robert Allen, both incredible authors of big books. They've now chosen to partner with Ryan Lee's company as kind of their tactical outlet for their clients to apply what they taught in those books. So they have a strategic alignment with those groups. Those who go through those groups kind of program, they then filter those through Ryan's company to get their tax strategy and then to plug them into how to start investing and create a plan to become financially free in 10 years or less. So that's a big partnership. As of recently, 2 other groups that they've now partnered with, Russell Brunson. Do you guys know who Russell Brunson is? Okay. Russell Brunson, kind of the tagline of ClickFunnels. Very big organization. Now have partnered with this company as well. And then their most recent partnership is Tony Robbins and their organization. So that's some pretty big groups in partnership with the company that we're about to hear from. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Very, very cool. As of late, company's now worth over $100 million. Very big, services thousands of people. Incredible.
Hell yeah.
Let's go. It's awesome. Very, very cool. What I love about someone, though, and I say this on the right individuals, we've all watched people become wealthy in some parts of our life. Some of the most wealthy people I know, there's 2 types in my mind. There's someone who has kind of sacrificed a lot to get to that level. And sometimes I look at their sacrifice, and in my mind, the sacrifice is not worth it. They might be very wealthy, and they might dominate on a financial standpoint, but they don't have a great body, they don't have a great mental mind, and they don't have a great family. What I love most about the individuals who actually dominate on the financial side is when they also can dominate as a husband or a wife. They can dominate in their body, and they can dominate in their mind. What I love about this individual tonight that's going to speak to us, he is an unbelievable father. Unbelievable father. What I just explained, a company worth $100 million, partnerships with Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Robert Allen, Russell Brunson. Incredible. All incredible stuff. You're going to take away incredible things from that. But for someone who knows how to dominate in that regard, who knows how to be a good father, a good mental mind, and good body, that is someone I'm going to listen to. So tonight, I would challenge you to show up, take notes, challenge yourself, and be open to receive something that's going to help you take into your own life to become better. Now, last thing I just want to highlight. Some of you guys work for Vital. Most of this room are all Vital employees. We love you. First of all, let's give a round of applause for being a Vital. Woo! Love it. Okay? What I love about Smart Money, I've been in this space now for about 18 years. And I've told this story many times, but it means a lot to me. When I was a first-year rep knocking doors, and I'll never forget this, I was a brand new rep, I was 21 years old, and I showed up to my sales office, and in the sales office, I was there for a couple weeks. I started to get to know the office. The number one rep in the office, the top earner, he was in his late 30s. He had been knocking doors for about 7 to 8 years. And I found out what he made the year before. It was over 300 grand. Made great money. At age 21, I was like, that's what I'm going for. I want to make that money. And then as I got to know him a little bit more, to each his own, he was still living paycheck to paycheck. And he was spending all the money he made. And I looked at him, married, kids, and he was so stressed financially, still broke. And I loved knocking doors. It was fun. I was great at it. But I looked at him like, okay, in 6 years, if I make that kind of money, I am not going to be in that position where I'm not financially free, and I'm going to do this job by choice. And so some people expect to get ahead financially, but they expect to get ahead financially by being financially illiterate. You cannot get where you want to be by staying financially illiterate. And so we at Vital, we take that very serious. Those who work here, we want to bring the top quality people to this stage to help our people that work at Vital to learn the skills and have the skills to go do this job as your vehicle to make the money that we make here, because it's damn good. But then to know how to go become financially free. So take pride that this event's here. Great job on making time to be here. Without further ado, let's stand up and let's give some noise to Ryan Lee.
I think I got mics. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you. So if you guys don't know, that's my bro right here. It's been so fun growing up with this guy right here and watching everything that he's been building and accomplishing with this team. I mean, I was with him for what, 10, 15 minutes as y'all were walking in, and I think every single one of you walked up to him and said, I've known Aaron for 10 years and 2 months and 20 minutes and 14 seconds. I've loved every moment of it. And so Aaron, thank you for having me up here. Guys, I'm super stoked to be here. I cannot believe it's a Friday night and y'all are here to talk about, yes, money. Money's important. But do you guys know what we're talking about tonight? Did Aaron give you any indication of what we're talking about? We're going to be talking about taxes.
Ryan, will you turn on your mic pack?
Oh, turn on the mic pack. All right. Let's see. Which one? The blue one? That one? No? We good?
The big one.
Big one.
Little switch on the top.
Little switch on the top. Let's see. Which one? There we go. Got it? I think I got it. It's a green light on it now. Is that good? Still no audio? All right. You want me to hold up? Is it for the online people?
No, online sounds good.
Okay, online's good. You guys can hear me though, yeah? Yep. Okay, cool. So we're gonna be talking about taxes. Now we live in a crazy world, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys live in the same world I do, but you turn on the news lately, and the news, all kinds of insanity, and that insanity is being funded by what? Our money. Like, I don't know if that pisses you off like it pisses me off, but when I wake up, I go to work, I sacrifice my time, I spend time away from my family to earn money, and I find out that I give a decent percentage away of that money to fund the insanity going on in our world, that pisses me off. So tonight, if you guys are at all frustrated with that, I want you to raise your hand for me to start off. We're gonna take care of that tonight. You guys ready for that? I saw a couple hands didn't go up, so if you guys are good with paying taxes, I knew it, I was just waiting for it. If you guys are good with paying taxes, if it's your patriotic constitutional duty, then this presentation might not be for you. But we're talking about the passive income machine, and you mentioned Russell Brunson, Aaron. I've been mentoring with Russell Brunson for years now. I don't know anything about marketing. And so I went to Russell to help teach me how to market. And it was funny, when I sat down with Russell and he started understanding what we do, he's like, it's too hard. Like, what you do is too hard. Why don't you just stop talking about a philosophy and start talking about a product? It would be so much easier to market real estate. Just talk about real estate. Or it would be so much easier to talk about just taxes. Why don't you just talk about taxes? But at the end of the day, all of those things, like real estate, taxes, insurance, cryptocurrency, all of that stuff, those are just silos inside of a concept of financial freedom. Aaron talked about financial freedom. In order for anyone to achieve financial freedom, you have to understand how to position, how to use the right investments in the right order to get very specific outcomes. It's not just about having real estate. It's not just about having a tax strategy. It's about knowing how to position your money appropriately to get an outcome. So today we're gonna be talking about a system, a machine, a way of thinking more than anything that will use various investments and various investment strategies to get an outcome. And that outcome is financial freedom in 10 years or less. Are you guys open for that? You guys down for that? Yeah. Financial freedom in 10 years or less. Now, if I were to ask you that, what does financial freedom mean? Let me hear some responses. What do you guys, when you hear the word financial freedom, what do you think of first and foremost? Who's got one for me?
For me, it's more being able to make choices that impact me and my family in ways that I currently wouldn't be able to.
I love that. Making choices in ways that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. I love that. Who else has got one?
I would say financial freedom would just be your assets are paying for all of your liabilities to where whether you work or not, you don't have to worry about anything.
So money is not the primary driver of the choices that you're making then, right?
Correct.
Love that. Who else has got one for me? Anyone else have an idea, philosophy around financial freedom? I love it. I love what you guys are talking about. I believe financial freedom is exactly what you guys are talking about. I believe it's when we wake up and we have more options and more choices in our life. There is a fundamental difference between the idea, the concept of retirement, working for one day, building up a pile of money so that you can stop, and using money as a tool to build and live a life that matters. When you live that way, I truly believe financial freedom, it's not a destination. It's not when you're 65. Financial freedom is truly a lifestyle. And over the last decade plus inside of my life, I've been fortunate to use this system to make bigger and bigger and bigger choices inside of my life, because money wasn't the driver of the choices that I was making. Money was the tool to help me live the life that I wanted. So that's really what we're gonna be talking about in all of this. Now, guys, today, I'm gonna be talking more than anything about the principles of creating wealth, the principles of not paying taxes, the principles of achieving financial freedom. But it's important that you understand these principles before we try to tactically apply them. If I came up here and just said, hey, everyone should do X, Y, Z, that would be the definition of malpractice. Like if a doctor stands up and says, hey, everyone out there, regardless of your symptoms or anything else, should take this medication, that's malpractice. So today, I'm gonna focus on principles, and then how you tactically apply those principles in your situation is 100% based on where you're starting from, what you're trying to accomplish, the resources that you're working with. Now, Aaron gave me an introduction, and the only introduction I'm gonna really spout off for myself is this. I'm gonna teach you to do what I've accomplished. I'm gonna teach you how to become financially free. And I remember, when Aaron and I first started way back in the day, we'd go to seminars, we'd hire coaches, we'd go to events. And I remember learning from so many people. And it was really interesting as I learned from a lot of these people. Most of them had not actually achieved the thing they were teaching on. Right? They'd gone to school, they had some credentials behind their name, they had done a couple of flips or done a couple of things, but they hadn't actually achieved the outcome that they were espousing to teach me. And that was so disheartening the more I got to know people. Aaron and I were in some rooms where we saw the behind the scenes person that we bought into. We thought that they were one person, then when we got behind the scenes and started working with them, we realized they weren't that person. I'm simply gonna show you what I know works because it's worked for me. Now, yes, I've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people achieve the same result, but I'm gonna help you do this. And at the end of the day, this is what financial freedom means to me. Notice how it has nothing to do with money. I didn't put my bank account up there. I didn't put the investments that I'm using up there. I put what a life well lived means to me. Aaron was just asking me how my family's doing. We just got back last night from a 2-week trip. My oldest son graduated high school, and it's the last summer that we'll likely have with him in our house, and so we went on a 2-week trip, and we've just got back, and we had a phenomenal time. But this, for me, is financial freedom. It's using money as a tool to have more adventures, more experiences, more of a life that matters to me. Because at the end of the day, Aaron, just like you talked about, I've met so many people who have a lot of money, but they've lost everything that really matters in life. They've lost their spirituality. They've lost their connection with their family. They've lost their physical health and well-being. They've focused so much on the money that they forgot what the money was actually for. So financial freedom is really about this. Now, I run a company called Cashflow Tactics, and we serve people to achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. These are some of the people that I've had the opportunity to serve. Every year we run events. We bring people out here to Utah. This one was last year up at Deer Valley. Brought a couple hundred people out, and we hiked in the mountains, and we talked about finances. We did those two things together because at the end of the day, financial freedom, if it is a lifestyle, it's going to require this. I truly believe that if we're willing to really rise up, if we're willing to take accountability of where we're at today, we can look at exactly where we're at today. And how many of you are satisfied with your financial situation in life right now? I'm not. What does that mean? For me, that means if I want something different, I have to accept full responsibility of all the choices I've made up to this point. I believe the results in my life today are a direct reflection of the decisions I made 3 to 5 years ago. Like the financial reality that I live in today it's not the decisions I made today or yesterday or a week ago. It's a direct result of the decisions and the habits that I adopted 3 to 5 years ago that are manifesting themselves in my life today. So if I want something different, if I want this, the prerequisite isn't just give my money to someone else and hope it works out. No, the prerequisite is this. It's rise up and take control. And this is what our company is actually built on. And I love this, just like Vital. I think this is why we align so well. We really build a company, we build a philosophy that you are the driver. You are the empire builder. You are the person responsible for your future. You are the uncommon individual, right? And this is rising up and living free. And you can see people walking all over doing that. Now, to lead into this, yeah, who said Angel's Landing? Yes, sir. All right, to lead into this, I'm going to give you just a little bit of an analogy here, okay? Because I'm going to share with you some things that you'll likely not hear much of outside of this room, okay? When you go to traditional financial planning spaces, I think one of the hardest things is when someone's ready to take control over their money, how many of us feel confused, overwhelmed, right? And we end up falling into the default. We just give our money to someone else, cross our fingers, and hope that it's going to work out. All right, so I'm gonna start off giving you, is that supposed to happen? Am I good? Okay, all right, we got it on, cool.
Let's go, Kay.
So in southern Utah, one of my favorite hiking spots is this hiking spot. It's called Angel's Landing. And the interesting thing about Angel's Landing is you hike up a very steep trail to get there. I mean, you're going like straight up. And going straight up, I can barely see what's directly in front of me, and I can barely see what's behind me. I only have a limited vision of right where I've come from and right where I've gone. But as I hike up a little bit up this mountain, I get to this point right here. And this point right here is a moment of decision. Because at that point, this is where most people turn around. But if I choose to go past this point, I'm gonna end up on a spot like this. And this right here, you can see right here, there's a couple spots on this cliff here where you're literally holding onto a chain. It's, a rock 3 feet wide, and on either side of you, there's a 1,000-foot drop off. But if you're willing to take this path, if you're willing to take this course, you get to a spot like this. And from this spot, your perspective expands. From this spot, you can see everything in the future. You can see exactly where you've come from, and your idea, your perspective of everything changes. And so today, guys, I believe perspective determines action. And I'm gonna give you a different perspective around A, money, and B, what's possible in your life with your money. So if this is true, let me guys ask you this, and I want this to kind of be interactive as we go through this tonight. What do you guys think? I heard some good definitions of financial freedom, options, choice. What is the purpose of money in our life? Like, all of you are here today to learn about money. Why would you sacrifice a Friday afternoon or Friday evening for money? What is the purpose of money in our life? What do you guys think? All right, it's a tool. Tool for what? Freedom. Freedom, I love that. Experiences. What about happiness? What about safety, security? You got some kids up here. Money's pretty important when you have kids, right? Yep. How many of you are married? How many of you have a spouse that counts on you? Family that counts on you? Brittany, the bike, right? Son that counts on you. Money is a tool that impacts every area of our life. But yet so many of us kind of try to tell ourselves that money doesn't matter. I don't need money, right? Money's not important. Money's greedy. I know these are the beliefs that I grew up with. If I think about money, I'm selfish. But if money is impacting every area of my life and gives me more options, more freedom, more tools to give, to live, to do everything I want to do in life, then it's pretty darn important that I understand what money is. What would you do with complete financial freedom? Right? I love what Aaron talked about. When you are completely financially free, you get to choose. You're working at a job not because you have to work there, but why? Because you want to be there. When you're at a place that you want to actually be at, how does your level of performance go? It goes through the roof, right? You're there to use your talents in the service of other people because you desire to do that. It gives you a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. And I believe the greatest source of wealth is really money's greatest intrinsic ability is to give you more options and more control inside of your life. So I put this up here just for this crew, okay? Financial vitality. We're gonna talk about how to become financially vital tonight. It's achieving a state of financial well-being, notice nothing to do with retirement, built on the foundation of financial security, right? Knowing that you've got enough to cover your basic needs, allowing for more peace of mind, freedom, flexibility, and self-actualization. This is really what we're gonna be focusing on tonight. And what we're gonna be talking about is how to achieve financial freedom. I'm gonna skip this stuff and we're gonna get right into it. Because look, at the end of the day, this is traditional finance, right? Fill in the blanks. But traditional finance is somehow, some way, go to school. Aaron didn't go to college. He has no business being successful, right? No business. I dropped out of high school. I have no business being successful because I didn't follow the traditional model. But you go to school. What do you do after you go to school? Get a job, right? You trade what, 30, 40, 50 years, deal with the boss, deal with the cubicle. Like you guys are all here because you're searching for freedom that Vital provides. But you get a boss, and when you're ready to start thinking about the future, what do you do with your money? Give it to the professionals, right? They're smarter than you, they're better than you, they went to school. Now, when your money's inside of whatever, a 401k, an IRA, most type of investments, ask yourself this. You want your money to do something, right? You want it to grow. But if we talk about financial freedom, we wanted more options, we wanted more control, we wanted more time, we wanted more freedom. When your money's inside of one of these things, whether it's the market, whether it's an IRA, whether it's an investment that you don't have any control over or anything like that, how much confidence does that give you in your financial future? Not very much, right? You end up kind of just holding on, hoping for one day, hoping that it's gonna work out, right? This is where most people end up. And then ultimately this idea of retirement, it turns into this. Now guys, look, I don't know much, but there's this dude, I think his name was Einstein, right? He's a pretty smart guy, right? And he said something to the effect, now Einstein gets quoted for all kinds of quotes, or he gets credited for all kinds of quotes. So whether he said this or not, I don't know. But Einstein is credited that the definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. So let's just look at how this pathway works out for most people. Now, this one right here is the craziest one. If you go to New York Times, they did an article, it's been about 18, probably two years now, but they said 49% of the middle class, like this is really the heart of America, right? This is the coveted middle class. These people are the ones who followed all the rules. They went to school, they got the good jobs, they're sitting in the cubicles, they're doing all the things right. What does their outcome look like? They're not just ending up with a little bit less money than they hoped for. What does it say right there? That's a pretty bold word. They're barely above the poverty line, right? If that's not disheartening, 4 out of 5 American workers are gonna fail to meet their retirement needs. If that's not disheartening, 81% of workers, people who have less than 10 years left until retirement, have less than $250,000 total leading up to retirement. And more than 35% of Gen Z believe retirement's not even possible anymore. So this, my friends, might actually be the definition of insanity, because where does the majority of investment advice come from? The very same people delivering these results. Okay, so if you guys are here to learn something different, here's what I'm going to invite you to consider. You guys are already different. What is the slogan of your company? Uncommon, right? Now, let me give you a little statistic here, okay? Or a little lesson on statistics. Now, again, this is coming from a high school dropout, so take it for what it's worth. But in statistics, right, when you're trying to measure and look for average data, right, when you're looking at average data and there's something that's outside of average data, it's called an outlier. And in statistics, it's viable, it's actually a statistically sound practice to do to eliminate the outliers. Why? Because in statistics, usually we're looking for a trend, we're looking for an average, right? And so if we eliminate the outlier, then we get back to what is the average data. But at the end of the day, if this is uncommon, right, the traditional financial model was built for the average investor who's getting an average return, who's hoping for an average result, who's seeking an average retirement. This isn't you to begin with. And so what I'm gonna share with you guys today is I'm gonna share with you what the outliers actually do. Okay, we're not going to look at this, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at the exact opposite, because at the end of the day, if we think about, let's say we do this. Let's say Elon Musk is out in the world. He's put on a costume so no one recognizes him, and he ends up in a bar, right? He ends up in a bar with 10 people, and each one of these 9 people, including Elon Musk, there's 10 people in a bar, and someone comes and wants to measure the average income of the 10 people in the bar that day, right? And if they ask person number one, and the person number one's income is $100,000, they ask person number two's income is $100,000, all the way down the line they get to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is whatever bazillion dollars he's making, right? If they then take the average of the bar, what does the average look? Looks like, well, the average 10 people in that bar made, $100 billion a year. Elon Musk skewed the statistics because he's the outlier. So today we're gonna look at the outlier and we're gonna eliminate the average. You guys down with that? Now, in order to do this, here's what I'm going to require of you. I've got 9 dots up there, okay? And each one of you guys are on phones. You probably don't have pieces of paper, but let's do this for fun. We want to connect all 9 of these dots with 4 lines. And once if I had a pen, once I put my pen on a piece of paper, I cannot pick it up, right? So let's figure out how to do this. You guys with me? Shout it out. How do you guys want to do this? Who's the first person that's going to be brave? Now, this is the problem with the short person. I can barely reach up there. Where do you want the pointer? We're going to try to connect all dots with 4 lines. Where should I start? Top left? All right, now where? Who's got it? Now where? Down? 1. Now where? 2, 3, 4. Missed one. Who else has got one for me? How are we going to do it? Diagonal? All right, where am I going? Outside. Outside, what do you mean? Outside the box. Oh. What's your name? Lincoln, all right. Let's go with what Lincoln has to say. We're going to go outside of the box, okay? We're going to take this line. We're going to move outside of the box. We're then going to go outside of the box again. We're going to then finish this off by connecting all 4 dots. So guys, in order to understand what I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to invite you to think outside of the box. I'm going to invite you to consider, we're going to go from average to extraordinary, and I'm going to skip this and we're going to get right into it, okay? Now, the first thing I have to be 100% clear on. So I'm in the investment world, and you know what the number one question I get at dinner parties, at graduations, and wherever I go, people want to ask me this: where should I put my money? Have you ever wondered that before? What's my best investment? I've got some money in the bank account. It's driving me crazy. I want to do something with it. So let me ask you this, and again, throw it out, guys. There are no wrong answers here. What's the best investment you can make? Who's got one for me?
Yourself.
Oh, come on, dude. You guys are freaking too smart. Is that true? How many of you believe that? The best investment you can make is yourself. What are you guys doing here at Vital?
Sometimes I don't know.
Like Aaron talked to you about being here on a Friday night, a smart money course. What are you doing right now? You're investing in your mindsets, your skill sets, your network, your connections. These investments that you make will allow you to tap into the greatest possibility and potential that you have. Not to earn money, not to trade your time for money, but to make money. Like there have been better investments, I guarantee you, that will come out of your ability to invest in yourself than anything else. Tonight I'm gonna talk to you about real estate, I'm gonna talk to you about taxes. Though all of that's gonna fit in a defined box. I can tell you exactly what rate of return within a given range you're gonna make. But when you invest in yourself, what's possible? Anything. What if you doubled your income this year? What if you went from, how many new reps do we have here at Vital? Less than 6 months. Less than 6 months. All right, we got less than 6 months. What if over the next 6 months, as you come in and get all of the training, do all of the work that Aaron, that Tyler, that the leadership team are helping you see and understand, what if you did all of that work, invested your time, your effort, and your energy, and within 6 more months, you doubled your income? Aaron, is that possible? Absolutely. Would that be, like, what if I came up here and said, hey, don't focus on Vital, like, come invest over here. I've got a piece of real estate for you. This is gonna be awesome. Which one's better? Like if you double your income now and you do that for the rest of your life, guess what happens? Investing becomes almost irrelevant. Like if you can just make money, your pathway to investing becomes super easy. So your best investment is this, your ability to make more money. So today, everything I'm going to talk to you about is subservient to that. Double down on every opportunity that Vital is giving you and make more money. Increase your mindset, your skill sets, and your network. But here's the craziest thing. I've met with so many people. In fact, you talked about Russell Brunson. I'll never forget when I met with Russell. Do you guys know who Russell Brunson is? Have you ever heard of him before? He's got a company that just got valued about 18 months ago at $1 billion. How much money do you think a $1 billion company CEO, he's the majority owner of that company, how much money do you think he might have had 6 years ago? 100,000? 200 million? I remember when I sat down with him, he had zero. Everything had been rolled back into his company. He was coming off of his third failure at bankruptcy of companies. And I'll never forget when I sat down with him, I thought it was gonna be so easy. This dude had a multi-million-dollar company, it hadn't been valued at $1 billion yet. And he wanted a financial plan. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. I'm gonna take all the money that's in this part, his bank account, I'm gonna show him where to put it, and he'll be financially free tomorrow. You know what the craziest part was? He had learned how to make a lot of money, but he had nothing to show for it. His business ate it up, his income ate it up, his some very, very bad investments that he made had ate it up. He had nothing to show for it. So guys, in order for you to become financially free, I want you to consider this. The most expensive money that you actually have is in your bank account right now. Consider what you had to do to have $1 in your bank account. What did you have to do? You had to wake up, you had to trade time. After you traded time, who did you have to give your first set of dollars to? The government. That's always a fun one, right? Then after you gave some money to the government, you've got kids, you got to eat, you've got more mortgage to pay, right? You have to pay all of your bills to be left over with a solitary dollar in your bank account. The most expensive money you have is the money that you the most expensive money you have is the money that you've gone through that whole cycle on to have it in your possession. So today, what I'm going to help you do is I'm going to help you see how to become a better investor. Okay, and we're going to do this in a little bit of an unconventional way. These numbers might reflect close to yours. They might be higher, they might be a little bit lower, but let's say you've got your salary or income, okay? Making 50, 100, 200,000, 300,000. Employment taxes, just for the privilege of you going to work, you're gonna pay somewhere between 7 to 15% of your money. If you're a solopreneur or self-employed, you'll pay 15%. If you work for a company, they'll cover half of it for you. That's money they could have paid you, but they have to pay for the government for the privilege of you going to work, right? Then you're gonna pay the federal government, depending on your income level, anywhere between 20 to 40% of your income for federal government. Then depending on the state that you live in, there's only a couple of them that are at 0. But most of them are between 5 to 7%, but you'll pay anywhere from 0 to 12. I just took a 2-week vacation in California. Lovely place, very expensive. Debt service, right? The average American today has a mortgage, has a car payment, has credit cards, has student loans. 30% of your income goes to debt, 40% goes to lifestyle. And when you think lifestyle, that's not even the fun stuff. That's just putting food on the table, right? Then, if you get down to the bottom of it, the average American has 5% that they can save for the future. How many of you feel like that's pretty close to like the life that you've either living today or have lived in the past? It's pretty close, right? You get to the end of the month and you're like, oh crap, all the money's gone. I better go back to work, right? So if this is true, right, I want you to invest. Like I'm up here to tell you how to invest money. So where are we gonna get this money to invest? What do you guys think? Well, let's start here. If this is true, let's put some numbers to it. $180,000 a year, okay? So if you're gonna make $180,000 a year, here's where all your money goes. $11,000 is gonna go to the privilege of working. $25,000 is gonna go to the federal government. $8,000 is gonna go to the state government. $54,000 is gonna go to cover debt, money that you've already spent, future time that you've traded for present consumption. $71,000 is gonna go to lifestyle, and you'll have $9,000 left to invest. Now, that's pretty decent, right? But are you gonna get financially free investing $9,000? Probably not, right? So if we wanna double that or triple that, how are we gonna do it? Well, let's try this. What if you guys get better with your debt? Less credit cards, less student loan debt, less car payments, all of that kind of stuff, lower mortgage. Let's figure this out. Now, is this possible? It's absolutely possible, but here's a couple of articles, okay? The average family can't afford to buy a home in 71% of the country. How many of you feel that right now? Like home ownership has gone, like it's almost become separated from the average American. It's not even possible for many people. 40-year mortgages are now looking more inviting. Like because people can't afford it, now banks are trying to consider going from a 30 to a 40-year mortgage. So it might be kind of hard to lower our debt. It's hard to pay for life as it is. So if we can't lower our debt, what about lifestyle? What if I tell you, hey, guys, stop spending money. Don't go on vacations, don't go out to eat, don't take your kids out and do something fun. Like, take that money and save it for the future. It's gonna be better, right? How many of you would feel that dichotomy of, hey, I wanna spend money today, but I wanna save for the future? How many of you feel that counterbalance constantly in your life? I know I do. So let's say, how do we figure this out, okay? The CPI score prices. So it's getting harder and harder today to save more money because the cost of living is going up. Now, Biden's gonna tell you that inflation is, last time he reported on it, he said it was up an inch. I don't know what that means, but it's only up an inch, so it must be good, right? But at the end of the day, guys, do you know the crazy part? Inflation is 50%. Do you guys know that? Like the cost of real expenses. How many of you gone to the grocery store? So Trump just, and look, guys, this is not political, but at the end of the day, Trump did a study. The average grocery bill was about $100 every week for the average American with 2 people and 1.5 kids. Today, for those same levels, same goods and services, or not goods and services, same food, guess what it costs you today? $150. And if inflation's going down, the price of food is not going down with it. That's a new permanent price index. Okay, now in addition to that, right, that's just food, right? But everything else is going up. The cost of energy, the cost of cell phones, the cost of cars. Like, how many of you are trying to buy a car these days? You went from buying $30,000 to now $80,000 for the same type of car. So stagflation back to the 70s. Oh, here's that study, right? Here's the groceries. In 2020, you pay $107. Now you pay $168. It's up 55%. Okay, and I won't go into too much on inflation, but it's going to be hard to cut lifestyle. So maybe we can turn to the experts in investing. You're going to give me the $9,000 and I'm going to show you how to get a better rate of return. Is this possible? Like, this is how the market works, right? It's up, it's down. It's up, it's down. It's up, it's down, right? And if you factor in and kind of, I mean, it's up a little bit, but if you factor in taxes and inflation, like, you're not really making money. Even Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, he lost $44 billion right here the last time the market went down. So I don't know, can you get a higher rate of return? Maybe, but is that gonna do it? 89% of fund managers, what do? They fail to beat the market. So look, guys, if you don't have a way, if we can't lower our debts, if we cannot lower our lifestyle, if we can't get a higher rate of return, how are we going to achieve financial freedom? Well, let me show. What's that? You got to make more. That's definitely, dude. And again, that's what we started. That's your number one investment. But let me show you the fastest and easiest way to do it. You guys down for this? What if I could show you a way to double your savings right now without doing anything I just talked about? We're going to go from working harder, not earning more. How do we do it with actually taking advantage of something all of you have access to? Okay, so the average American today saves 5%. If that's true, then to save $20 more or to save $1 more, you would have to earn $20 more to pay taxes, to pay debt, to pay lifestyle, just to save $1. If you're saving 5%, it takes $20 more earned, we're earning more, to save $1 more, right? So if we just extrapolate this, if I want to save $1,000 more, if I want to go from $9,000 to $10,000, I have to earn $20,000 more. And if I want to save $10,000, if I want to double my savings, I have to earn $200,000 more. Now, should I not earn money? Absolutely, I should earn money. That's my number one best investment. But what if we could actually attack where most of our money is going? Okay, this is where most of our money is going, and I want to open up something to you. If you had a way to lower your taxes by $10,000, just $10,000, it's equivalent to earning $200,000 more in income. Do you guys get that? $10,000 of less taxes is the same thing as earning $200,000 more of income, going through the whole rigmarole that I just outlined for you, and then saving 5% so you can save $10,000. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna give you some tax advice here, but before I do this, I need to qualify myself. I'm not your CPA, okay? This is a tax strategy, not tax advice. A tax professional is going to have to help you out. They're going to lie to you, but they're going to have to help you out. And look, if you think taxes are patriotic, then don't listen to what I'm about to say, okay? Because at the end of the day, taxes are voluntary. How many of you have ever felt that before? It's June. How many of you paid your taxes in April? Did you feel like taxes were voluntary in April? No, it never really feels like that, but that's actually voluntary for everyone. Let me show you a couple examples. Warren Buffett, look all the way over here. Do you see that true tax rate over there? How much did Warren Buffett pay in tax? He paid a lot of money in taxes. I mean, 23 million, but his tax rate was less than 1%. Okay, Warren Buffett might be Jeff Bezos. Tax rate less than 1%. Bloomberg, tax rate 1.3%. Elon Musk, tax rate 3.2%. Now you might be thinking those guys are billionaires, it works for them, it doesn't work for me. Let me give you another example. These are just average everyday politicians. People just like you and me, right? The people from the street. Obama, when he ran for presidency, guess what he paid? 19.6% total taxes. That sounds pretty good. Mitt Romney, when he was running against Obama, he disclosed he paid 14.1% total taxes. The Clintons, dude, those guys have become multimillionaires. They pay 17% in taxes, and Trump, he's the only guy not to really tell us. But here's what Trump said. Did we get audio on this? I don't know if we get audio on. Let's play it. Let's try. Oh, so good. Let me just pause it really quick. Let me just give you some perspective on this. This is Trump debating with Hillary Clinton back when they were running for presidency 8 years ago. And Hillary Clinton, she pays her patriotic duties, 17% tax rate, and she's accusing Trump of saying, hey, this dude's a criminal, he's a crook, he doesn't pay anything in taxes. Let's hear what Trump has to say.
Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So if he's paid zero,
What did he say? That makes me smart. And then after that, what happened? He got elected to be president. They didn't take him to jail. That makes me smart. Let's actually put that in our brains really quick. Trump knows something that most people don't know. He knows how to play the tax game. Do you guys want to know how to play the tax game? Okay, let's do this. Because if you go ask your CPA, how many of you have ever asked your CPA, hey, dude, this sucks. I want to pay less. Trump doesn't have to pay taxes. Why do I have to pay taxes, right? Buy a jet. Okay, that might be one of them. I'm actually use that as an example. But what does your CPA say? I don't know. You got to pay taxes. You have to do it, right? And if the CPA does give you any answer, what language are they speaking? Not language I can understand, right? Have you ever talked to a CPA and you leave the meeting and you're more confused than when you went into the meeting? Right? How many of you has that ever happened to? It can't just be me, right? So if this is true, then I'm going to give you the way to do this, because there's a massive difference between tax preparation and tax strategy. Most CPAs focus on this, not this. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. I want you to consider this. Do I have any CPAs in this room? Just so I don't offend people too much. All right, no former CPAs, no current CPAs. I've had a couple death threats before when I say what I say here from CPAs. I don't know could get that hostile, but they do. It's not your CPA's job to save you taxes. Do you guys want to know who your CPA actually works for? They don't work for you. They work for the government. They're certified, they have to sign your tax returns, and they're signing that they're following the tax rules the best they understand them to pay the amount of taxes required with your income that you're claiming. They work for the government. It's your CPA's job to keep you out of jail, but they don't actually work for you. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about tax evasion. I'm not talking about fraud. I'm talking about tax strategy. Here's what Donald Trump says. Most people don't understand tax returns. So to become empowered, to keep more of your money, you have to understand the conversation of taxes. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go through 3 steps, and we're going to talk about tax strategy. With the right tax strategy, you can fundamentally use the tax code to lower your taxes legally and ethically. And just like Trump leans into the microphone on national TV and says, that makes me smart, you can lean into your CPA, and when they shrug their shoulders, you're going to say what? That makes me smart. Do this, right? So here we go. You guys ready? So we're going to use the playbook. Now, the first thing you have to figure out is, what do you want your target tax rate to be? Have you ever thought about that before? No one ever thinks about that, right? I just pay whatever taxes the CPA tells me I have to pay. I hem, I haw, I kick, I scream, I yell, I complain, I cry, and then I write the stupid check, right? But what if you went into your CPA with a target tax rate and said, hey, based on how I claim my income, I'm willing to pay 20% in taxes. No more, no less. Do you think that would empower you a little bit in the conversation with your CPA? So let me show you how to do it, okay? Because Aaron, you mentioned the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I love that book. I think the best book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote was this one. It was called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And he broke down how people can claim income. And here's what I want you to consider. There's no such thing as the tax code. Do you guys know why the tax code is thousands of pages long? There's 4 different tax codes, and it's how you claim your income that will determine which tax code you fall in. So let's talk about this, because Robert Kiyosaki said if you're an employee, if you have a job, you wake up, you go to work, you get a paycheck from your employer, you're gonna pay 40% of your income in taxes. The more money you make, the more money you're gonna pay in taxes. Now, if you're an employee, this is actually pretty true. Now, from my understanding, you guys have the opportunity to step away from the E quadrant and move into the S quadrant. Now, the S quadrant looks kind of dangerous, right? To go from the employee to the self-employed, you go from paying 40% at a maximum level to 60% at a maximum level. But in order to get to the other side of the quadrants, we need to understand how a business operates versus a self-employed, because that's a pretty big difference going from 60 to 20, right? And then we're gonna finish off our conversation with this quadrant. You guys down for this? So this means if you make your active income here and your passive income here, what's gonna happen with your tax rate? It's gonna go down. What if you make more money? It's gonna go down. Right? So let's actually talk about how to do this. The first step of the playbook is this. If you're over here on this side of the quadrant and you've ever asked your CPA, hey, I want to lower my taxes, what do they tell you? These are your ways you can do it. You can buy a house and claim your mortgage interest, right? Deduct your mortgage interest. So you can have a primary residence and you can deduct your taxes that you pay. It's weird that you get to deduct one form of taxes to pay another form of taxes, right? But you get to deduct the taxes that you pay on your primary residence, so you can lower your federal income tax. You can give money to a charity, lower your federal income tax, have some kids, right? Whoever thought that kids could give you some money back? They usually take money, but they're worth it. And then you can give money to an IRA, right? This is what most financial planners focus on. If you want to lower your taxes, these are your 5 options. How many of you have heard these 5 options from a CPA before? And how many of you are like, crap, is there anything, how do I pay less in taxes, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do with this, okay? But here's the other thing I want you guys to consider. If you follow this option right here, and you guys don't have to say it, but I'd love to know if you do, because I want to talk to you guys about this. How many of you have money in an IRA right now? 401k, IRA of any kind? A couple people, okay? I'm going to dog on you for just a minute. Are you guys okay with that? Okay? I had money in an IRA too, because that's average traditional advice, right? And this is what a CPA tells you. You should put money in an IRA because why? Why did you put money in an IRA? Pay less taxes, right? Now, is this true? Do you guys want to find out? Okay, this is going to make you mad. Here we go, okay? You're in a partnership with this guy right here, the IRS. Right now, this is Biden, and you guys are best buds, right? And Biden's saying, hey, guys, guess what? We're going to go into a partnership together, and you're going to do all the work in the partnership. You're going to take all the risk. You're going to put in all the money. And when you get ready to take money out of our partnership, I'll tell you how much of our partnership I owe, or I own. Right? Would you ever go into like if Aaron came to you and said, hey, come, let me recruit you here at Vital, and you're going to do all the work, you're going to take all the risk, you're going to put in all the money, and when it's time for you to get paid, I'll tell you how much of our partnership I actually own. Would you go into partnership with Aaron at that point? No, that's kind of dumb. But consider this. You're in partnership with the IRS, and I don't know about you guys, but the IRS seems to be a little bit out of control right now, right? According to news outlets, the government has to either raise taxes by 40% or cut spending by 30%. I don't know if they've ever cut spending in their entire lives, just to balance the budget. Oh, Biden did some good stuff. He cut $3 trillion in a spending plan, but he needs to cut $20 trillion. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't see the last headline last year, they just spent $43 billion hiring more IRS agents, and guess what? They're now armed with guns. Do you guys know that? Do you guys know IRS agents are now authorized to carry guns? Like, does that concern you a little bit? Have you ever dealt with anyone that holds a gun? How do you feel? A little bit intimidated, right? If an IRS agent shows up to collect money, you're gonna feel a little bit intimidated. Now let me show you if you're gonna retire in a lower tax bracket, okay? Let's say you put $20,000 into an IRA because you get to lower your taxes, right? So you put it in, you lower your income taxes today by $20,000. Let's say that $20,000 in the IRA grows by 8%. That's pretty relative good assumption, right? You keep it in there for 30 years. So at the end of 30 years, your $20,000 will turn into $200,000, okay? But what is this money for? One day you want to spend it, right? You're going to use it for income at one day. So in retirement, let's say taxes stay the same. Let's say the tax rates never go up. You retire at a 30% tax rate. 30% of 200,000 bucks is what? Well, it's $60,000. If that's true, your tax on your actual wealth is 42%. You got a $20,000 deduction today to pay 42% in the future. Do you guys understand the math on that? Does that make sense? Who wants to retire in a lower tax bracket? Is an IRA going to do that for you? No, it's going to force you, and that's assuming that the IRS doesn't raise the tax code. So here's your playbook, okay? Number one, stop messing around in these quadrants. These quadrants are not for you. Even if are you guys all self-employed? Is that how you guys all claim income, self-employed? Okay, cool. Everyone's self-employed?
For the most part.
Okay. If they're not, we're going to talk to you about how to get here, okay? We're going to move you from the self-employed to the business quadrant. And guess what? All you have to do is claim your income differently. You don't have to open up a business. You don't have to have a building. You don't have to have employees. You can be a business of one, right? And this is going to move you to this side of the quadrant because the playbook is we need to get rid of federal taxes, state income taxes, and employment taxes. We're going to say goodbye to the left side. We're going to go to the right side, okay? Now, how many of you have ever heard of CEOs being benevolent, kind, true-hearted people, and they only take a salary of like $1? Have you ever heard of that before? Lee Iacocca was the first one to do that. Why did Lee Iacocca, back in the 1970s, or any CEO that you've seen take a very low salary, why did they take a low salary? What do you guys think? Stock option. So are they making any less money? They're actually probably making more money. They're just claiming their income differently. Because if they claim it as a salary, what quadrant does that go in? Goes right here. They're going to pay 40% of their salary in taxes. But if they claim it as a stock option or as a dividend, they now get to pay virtually nothing or a very low tax rate on those stock options. So let's talk about this. Aaron, you said you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Inside of this book, I never understood this until, 5, 6, 7 years ago. The rich don't work for money. Have you ever read that before or heard that? What does that actually mean? Are the rich just, they don't have to do anything? They can just sit back and relax? No, the rich, they work for different sources of income. They work for assets that pay them income so they can lower their taxes. So let's talk about this. Okay, in order for you to start taking deductions, all the IRS requires is the deduction be ordinary and necessary. And you can only do it if you're taking income in the B and I quadrant. Okay, now what this means, if you're taking income, let me clarify this really quick. Let's say you want to make $150,000. Okay, rather than taking that $150,000 out of your own business as a salary, you're going to take it out as a dividend, as a stock option, right? And when you take it out as a dividend or a stock option, you lower your tax rate. Rather than paying income taxes as an employee, you pay income taxes as a business owner. Let me stop it right there because taxes get kind of weird. Do you guys understand that? Does that resonate with you guys? Do you have any questions on that? So if you're self-employed, you're going to set up, what's your name right here in the front? I'm Rocco. Okay, you're going to set up Rocco LLC. Congratulations, my friend, you're in business. You are now a business owner of Rocco LLC. You're going to go out, you're going to knock doors, you're going to sell solar. Vital's going to put money in your business Rocco LLC bank account, and you're going to say, the business of Rocco takes money out of my business, out of my S Corp, let's say they have $100,000 in that account. You take $15,000 to $20,000 out of salary to keep your taxes low, and the rest of it out as a dividend or a distribution, so you take it out in a lower tax rate. More income, less taxes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Every one of you can do this. Guess what? My business, now I have businesses where I do have employees, but how I make money, guess what? It's an LLC of me. It's the business of Ryan Lee. And I take most of my income, not as salary, but as dividends and distributions to lower my tax rate. Then, once I've taken that out, I want to tell the IRS, hey, guess what? I don't actually have that much money. I'm not making that much money because I have a lot of expenses. All the IRS makes me do is prove that my expense was ordinary and necessary to operate the business that I'm in. Have you ever wondered what is ordinary and necessary? Let me show you. Why does Grant Cardone fly around in a jet? It's ordinary and necessary. If you don't have a jet, how many of you drove here in a car? Is that ordinary and necessary to run your business? Yep. If you don't have a car, how many of you have a motorcycle? Is that ordinary and necessary to run your business? Guess what? On my truck outside, guess what it says? Rise up, live free. On the bottom, a little sticker. Why? Because now that truck is an advertisement and it's ordinary and necessary for me to operate my business. I cannot possibly operate as a business owner unless I have a truck that gets me from A to B that says rise up, live free on it, and that's ordinary and necessary. So now, all of my payments going to the truck, I would have paid them anyway, but guess what I get to do now? I get to take my total income, take all of my truck, all of my payments associated with that truck, take it off the top, and now I only have to claim income on what's left over. But guess what else is ordinary and necessary for my business? How many of you have cell phones? How many of you have computers? How many of you have to have, you travel around? How many of you have to go out to eat, have hotels for all, like when you're in business, everything that you do in business now becomes ordinary and necessary. There are some limitations to that, but the reason Grant Cardone has a jet is because it's ordinary and necessary. He puts 10X on it, now it's a business write-off. So for you, here's your steps. Step number 1, you're gonna exit the E-quadrant, you're gonna stop putting money in a 401k. Stop putting money in a tax-deferred account. You're gonna start working, stop working for money and start working for dividends and distributions, and you're gonna make everything ordinary and necessary to you. Now let me walk you through kind of what this would mean. There are 4 different ways to do this, okay? Tax prep versus tax strategy, income tax versus wealth tax, the 4 tax codes and the 5 tax strategies. I'm gonna go through this really, really quick, okay? And I'm gonna try to sum this up as best as I can, okay? How many of you have seen, what is this show called? Yes, right, I'm gonna try to sum it up for you. I'm just gonna explain it really quick, okay? So here's the ways you're gonna do this. The first thing you have to do is every one of you need a holding company, an LLC that's set up as an S-Corp. How many of you have an LLC set up as an S-Corp right now? Okay, how many of you don't? Let's put those hands up. Step number 1, write down my to-do list, is my income needs to come out of a holding corp, an LLC set up as an S-Corp, okay? Now, all of the money that Vital's gonna be transferring to you is gonna go into that account. You're going to claim it as low as a salary as necessary, as high as you can on dividends. Now, work with your CPA on doing that. Then what you're gonna do is you're going to take advantage of as many deductions as you possibly can, okay? Number 1, Augusta rule. How many of you, I know Aaron likes golf. Who are my golfers in here? Okay, I got some golfers. Ever heard of Augusta, Georgia? The Masters? There's a rule, a tax code, in the tax code, there's a rule. Who's ever been to Augusta before? It's it's a little teeny town, right? And the golf course is just right in the middle of a neighborhood. So back in the day, people used to rent out their homes when all of these fancy golfers would come in and all of these fans would come in. They would rent out their homes and they would say, look, I'm displaced from my home. Now my home actually turns into a business and I get to deduct how much money someone else would have had to pay had they went and rented a hotel. So in the Augusta rule, you get up to, I think it's 15 days. So every single year, I write off in my home as if I'm renting it out, even if I'm using it for myself. How many of you do business meetups? You have a counseling session or a coaching session with your direct superior. Or how many of you do sales practice or anything like that? Anything related with your business in your home, trainings. 15 of those days can be written off at the highest possible price. Meaning, if you had to go anywhere else to host that workshop, if you had to rent a hotel, if you had to, have a big stage, had to have computers, had to have lights set up, you would take all of those costs that you would have paid elsewhere, you transfer them to your home, and you say, look, I would have had to pay $20,000 to run this event, but I just did it out of my home. So that $20,000 deduction comes right off the top, and you can do it 15 times per year. Do you guys know that? If you're running your business in any way out of your home now becomes one of your biggest write-offs. Family LLC. I'm not gonna go into this too much, but I do see some people with kids here. Guess what? My kids, are any of you on social media, kind of marketing what you do a little bit? Hey, I'm part of Vital, I'm running an awesome team. I'm on social media all the time, and guess what I'm doing? I got my daughter here. Look, I'm out hanging out with my daughter. I'm doing fun things. It's all because I have the opportunity to do this because of my business. Now, guess what? I get to pay my daughter a salary. Now, why would I pay my daughter a salary? My daughter is a very expensive young woman. She loves all the lessons. She loves all the actress, things. We just put her in a private lesson to improve her stage presence. It's gonna cost me like $5,000, but guess what? I'm paying a salary to my daughter. I'm funneling it into a bank account for her, and then I'm using that bank account to do what? Pay for the things I would have paid for anyway. Exactly. Now it's a tax write-off, right? Up to, I think it's $15,000 per kid you get to write off. So this is money that you're gonna spend on your kids anyway. You're just gonna spend it through a different route. Now your kids become part of your business. You're all S-Corps, you're all businesses, right? This is why you should get married and have kids. Do you have kids yet? You gotta get to work, dude. Come on, man. So anyway, all of this stuff. So guys, there's so many things here with this, but let me just give you a quick example. This is why it's hard to give you tactical advice because each of you are in a little bit of a different situation. My clicker just went dead for me. You wanna advance me to the next one? Okay, as we're advancing to the next one, here's what I want to share with you guys. The number one thing I want you to take from this is taxes are what? What did we start? Optional. They're voluntary. You need to tell the IRS how much you're willing to pay. Now, will you pay taxes? Yes, you're gonna pay some taxes on your active income. But the millionaires, the billionaires, the politicians, how much are they paying? They're paying way less money in taxes than you are. All you have to do is start operating as a business. How you claim your income, what deductions you take. Your goal is to make as much money as you can, take that money out in a strategic way out of the business of you, have as many deductions forced into that business as possible, including paying your kids, including renting out your home, and then only pay taxes on what's left over. Does that make sense? I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm gonna just field a few questions before we go on to the next part. Are there any questions on this? Because I see some blank stares. I'm not getting as much energy as I usually get on this. You guys down to not pay taxes?
For your advertisement on your truck, could you charge yourself like a large amount for that advertisement and then write that off?
Here's the crazy part. You can do anything you want.
Okay.
Now, would I advise you to do that? Probably not, right? But here's the crazy part. There is, the funny thing about the tax law and the tax code, there is no definitive direct answer. Everything is gray. So as long as you're staying within the range of what's necessary, and even if you're outside of that range, as long as you're comfortable and willing to go through an audit. I've been through 2 audits in my life, and guess what? All the IRS is looking for is documentation on why you did what you did, and if they prove that it was not valid, guess what they want? They want their money, right? One audit I won, one audit I had to pay them an extra $5,000. So can you do it? Yes. Should you do it? Probably not that to that extent.
Regarding the documentation, how detailed do you get as far as keeping receipts, mileage on your vehicle, stuff like that, or credit card statements? Stuff like
Credit card statements, 99% of the time suffice. Yep. Any other thoughts on this? You guys down to pay less in taxes? I want you guys all next year, when April comes around and Aaron has me back, I want to ask you what your tax rate is, and I want you to all stand up and say, my tax rate was 15%, it was 5%, it was 18%, and I'm going to ask you, how'd you do it? And what are you going to say? That makes me smart, right? That's all the tax game is. It's just understanding what the playbook is, and remember, paying less, $10,000 less in taxes is equivalent to doing what? Earning $200,000 more in income. Now, you should still earn $200,000 more in income, but pay less in taxes. You guys down for that? Can you get me to the next slide?
Computer's frozen. Is this why-
My computer's frozen?
why you don't have a PC?
My PC is frozen? Come on now.
I got a question
Yeah.
while we're waiting. What's your tax rate?
My tax rate, that's a really good one. I had my taxes in here from the last year I wrote taxes. It was 16.5%. That was my all-in federal tax rate. Now I'm gonna show you a little bit more how to do that. So actually, I'll put that in the next presentation, okay? Because I actually have my taxes and I gray it all out, but I show you exactly how I did it. 16.5%. Now I haven't filed in 2 years. I'm still catching up on my taxes. But the last time I filed, it was 16%. But here's what we take you through. Like, when we build the tactics of your game plan, we have to go through each one of these things: the holding corp, the Augusta rule, paying your kids, the DTOM tax strategy, and your active income. But as we go through this, like, each one of you should be able to take maximum amount of deductions in each one of these. Like this one, for the last person we went through, they were able to take $70,000. This is money that they would have had to pay taxes on. Now, because they ran their business out of their home, they got to take $70,000 off of their gross income and pay taxes on what's left over.
How big was their house?
Man, I can't remember, but probably 2,400 square feet.
How do you dictate what's reasonable for that?
Great question. So for me, I run a workshop in my house every 6 weeks, and what we do is we get documentation of what it would take to get a venue like this, right? An office space or some type of a venue, what it would take to get the video equipment, what it would take to get the lights, what it would take to get the parking, all of that. We usually pad up by 15 to 20%, and that's how we claim it. So all of this, so now, I start using my home as part of my business, and all you guys have to start doing is thinking more creatively. You're already doing this anyway. Now you need to document it in a way that will allow you to take it as a tax write-off. Paying your kids, man, I love paying my kids. They don't see any of the money, right? I pay them, I take it right out of their bank account, and that's how I fund all the stuff that they want to do. Okay? DTOM expenses, these are everything that's ordinary necessary. DTOM stands for don't tread on me, so everything I can find that's ordinary and necessary comes out. And then the last one, this one is a major one, but this is only available for real estate investors. But I do want to spend just one really quick moment on here. one of the best things about being a real estate, and I'll answer your question, one of the best things about being a real estate investor is now I get to take all of the expenses associated with owning real estate, and rather than taking those expenses on my passive income, I get to bring them over to my active side. Now, do you guys know what it takes to become a professional real estate investor? It takes 700 hours. You have to log 700 hours, but here's the craziest thing, okay? A couple of years ago, a new law was passed around real estate investors. How many of you have ever stayed in an Airbnb before? Okay. What's that?
Every month.
Every month, okay. How many of you own an Airbnb? You guys might want to consider owning an Airbnb as you start to build up your game plan. Here's why. You buy a house in a place that you like. So right now, I'm a joint owner in a place in Kauai. And in that place in Kauai, we go there, once a year, spend a couple weeks there, it's phenomenal. But the rest of the year, what do? We rent it out. Now here's the crazy part. When we rent it out, we self-manage that particular property for this one reason. On that particular property, we have to manage the bookings. We live in Utah. This is a property in Hawaii, right? And so we make sure the house is cleaned, and all we have to do is log 100 hours. As long as we log 100 hours managing that property over the year, then we're basically operating a business of owning a hotel. Now I get to claim all of the expenses, the depreciation, the mortgage, the interest, everything associated with owning that real estate. Guess what I get to do? I get to take it off of my passive income and I get to put it on my active income. Now I get to tell the IRS, because I own an Airbnb, I pay less, $60,000, I'm gonna claim $60,000 less in income this year on my federal taxes. Does that make sense? Guys, there are so many things that your CPA will never do. Now, why won't they do this? A, they don't work for you, and B, it takes a little bit more work. Your objective is to have a tax strategy, have that tax strategy, hand it to your CPA and say, this is what I'm paying you to do. Either do it or I'm finding another CPA.
You got a guy?
I do have a guy. Well, there was a question.
I was just going to comment that everything you put up there is all great strategies. And I've used almost all of those for the last 15 years. So
Heck yeah.
pretty much right on. And,
That's my guy right there.
I have the 2 LLCs, both S corps. My kids have one, and all their basketball, baseball, soccer, everything comes out of it. One of them called me today to argue with me about the mitt he's going to buy. He's like, I have my debit card, I don't care, But it is cool to see because it also allows you to put your kids to work a little bit.
Totally. And all it's doing is optimizing the flow of money. You're gonna spend that money on them anyway, weren't you? Now you're optimizing the way that you spend that money on them anyway, so you give less of it to the government, have more of it to spend on them. That's really the objective of everything we're talking about, is using the tax code.
Keep it under $13,850 a year.
Exactly, per kid. Yep.
So that strategy that he's talking about as far as paying your kids, for those of us without kids,
You gotta go with your kids.
Hey, step number 1, get married. Step number 2, have some kids. Aaron, what are you on, number 4 right now?
Not yet.
Everyone's a tax deduction, right? Aaron just keeps cranking out tax deductions.
So if my fiance,
Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing, but she is W-2 with the tax implications and benefits that I get, be counteracted by the negative implications on her.
Totally, yeah. And the hardest part about W-2, but now here's the cool thing. This is where tax strategy comes into play. You don't have to file jointly. You can still file independently, so you don't have to combine your income. It might make sense to file independently to keep your taxes lower, or it might also make sense because you now have the opportunity to inject thousands of dollars of deductions, right? And so let's say you make $100,000 and your wife makes $100,000. Now you have $200,000 of income, but you get to bring $80,000 of deductions to the table. So you're only paying taxes on $120,000. Good one. Okay, any other questions on this? Was that helpful for you guys?
Awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Good stuff.
That's my funnest thing. I don't even know, man. That's one of my favorite feelings in the world, is when you get to stick it to the man, right? Stick it to the IRS, dude. It's my favorite thing. I love that.
Someone asked if when you set up an LLC, is it automatically an S corp?
No. All you have to do, you set up the LLC, it's a designation that you make when you set up the LLC. Once it's an S corp, you can now treat it like a business.
Were you serious about not filing for the last 2 years?
I haven't filed for the last 2 years, yeah. I've been a little bit lazy.
What's the risk on that?
So right now, technically, I'm paying interest. So when I do square up, so what I did is I paid an estimated taxes. So in April, I paid my estimated tax, what I think I'm gonna owe in taxes, but I haven't actually officially filed. So when I go back and I file, I just need to make sure that my taxes that I file line up pretty well with that estimated payment I made. If it's over, I owe the extra taxes that I didn't pay plus the interest of what I didn't pay. So it's not really that big of a deal when you control your tax game, because I'll just come back and I'll make sure my taxes are right in line with what I paid.
You did pay.
Yeah, I paid an estimated payment. Yeah, good clarification. Okay, you guys good? Okay, how much time, dude, that took a little bit longer. Oh, here's Josh Forty. Okay, Josh Forty came in, did these things. Josh Forty, he's a business owner, pretty cool guy. He went from owing $24,000 in taxes. All we did is he didn't have any kids at the time, wasn't married at the time, didn't even own a home at the time. All we did is we went back and said, look, man, the car that you've been driving, the home that you've been living in, let's go back and claim some of this as deductions. And he went from owing $24K to getting $12K back. All he had to do was take advantage of two simple options. You can even, in many cases, go back up to 3 years to claim taxes that you overpaid the government, and they'll send you a check back.
And your business does this for people?
It's 100%. This is part of what we do. Yep. Look, at the end of the day, guys, who in here wakes up and gets giddy and excited about the tax code? Very few people. What we want to do is we want to have a tax strategy. And when you have a tax strategy, any CPA can file your taxes. But the tax strategy is the most key element. Okay, cool. So now, what time is it? How much time do I have? I might need to fly. 7:24. Did we start?
Yep, you got 40 more.
Okay, cool. All right. It's hard to know what my favorite part is. My favorite part is not paying taxes. So I'm now going to talk to you a little bit more about not paying taxes. Everything we talked about is how to lower your taxes in any one of these quadrants. Now, I'm a business owner, right? And all it was is how I claim my income. Now, I still pay myself a salary, and out of that salary, I pay like an employee, but most of my income comes from this quadrant, okay? Now I'm going to talk to you about getting into the I quadrant. In the I quadrant, this is called the investor quadrant, and this is where Donald Trump leans into the freaking microphone and says, I pay nothing in taxes. Because Donald Trump takes most of his income here, not here. Okay, so let's talk about how this works, okay? The objective here is we want to use, and we call this the don't tread on me tax strategy, the DTOM tax strategy. We want to reduce our taxes on our active income, and we want to eliminate taxes on our passive income. This is, again, why we never use an IRA. I never want to take the federal government with me into the future. I want to leave them in the dust. I want to leave them in the past. I want to pay them what I owe them today. And dude, I believe paying a healthy, honest tax rate. I'm going to pay exactly what I owe, but no more. And I will never take them with me into the future. So this is where, in the passive income, when I get ready to invest, my number one thought is, how do I kick the IRS out of my future? How do I keep them out of my game? Okay, so once you've reduced your taxes on your active income, the goal is to never pay it on your passive income. So the question is, where should I put my money? Like, this is the question I get asked all the time at dinner parties is, what should I invest in, right? So I'm going to tell you this. The first thing I'm going to tell you, and some of you that were at the last presentation, you guys know what this is, but this is a concept that I discovered 12 years ago now. I just put this, I'm 13 years into now using this strategy. When I first learned about this, I was still on the very traditional path. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was getting my master's degree in finance at the time because I thought that was going to help me earn more money so I could save more money so one day I could retire. And I'll never forget it. You've seen those maybe sitcoms where the teenage kid is sitting in the back of the schoolroom reading a comic book with the math book in front of it, right? When I was learning this strategy, that's exactly what I was doing. I was getting a master's degree. The teacher was up there talking about all kinds of nonsense. And I knew I didn't want to stay on this path. I knew I didn't want to continue to stay in the corporate world. And so I was reading a book that shared with me what I'm going to share with you today. And I remember I'd sat my book in front of it so I could read this book while I was sitting in that class. But this changed my life. I want you guys to consider this. The vault, what I'm going to share with you right now, is the greatest financial instrument ever created by mankind. Now, it comes from the most least likely place that you'd ever imagine. But I want you to consider this. What if you had a place that you could put your money that would eliminate taxes forever? Wow. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. What if, in addition to that, it gave you a 200-year track record of success? You knew you could put your money somewhere, that the results that were given to you inside of this account had been done 200 years straight without fail. What if you could put your money in a place that was a private contract, you had 100% control over that private contract, and it basically functions as a Swiss Army knife? There are multiple ways that we can use this. I'm going to share with you one of them. The first thing I want you to consider is this. I think so many people today, they live in a state of constant panic and anxiety and scarcity. And a lot of it comes from money, right? It's hard to be a producer. It's hard to wake up and go knock doors. Like, dude, that's a hard thing to do, right? It's hard to go out there and know that you eat what you kill. But if you have chaos, which isn't always bad, but if you have chaos in your active income, and then once you come back home, if you have chaos in your personal finances, all your money is going out the door, you have chaos in your taxes, you have chaos, as Aaron talked about, in your health, your spirituality. Like, if everything is chaos, what does your life look like? Chaos. And you live in a sense of stress and anxiety. But if we want to flip that on its head, if you live in a bubble, right, and your salary is 100% predictable, you never leave your house, so you never get sick, you wear a mask when someone tells you to wear, like all the things, right, to make yourself as safe as possible, what does your life look like? You live in a bubble. There's no purpose to your life. So the delicate balance that we're trying to strike is we're trying to build a quality of life where we can balance uncertainty with certainty. Right? Because when we live in a world where uncertainty is experienced in healthy doses, it's fun, it's adventurous. That's what makes being a producer phenomenal. You thrive in that uncertainty when you've balanced it on a state of certainty. So your objective is we need to walk around like Conor McGregor. I want you to walk into your world knowing that you are unbreakable. The economic value of you being 100% certain that you can make money and you can keep it, that's what it feels like. This is why Conor McGregor walks around like this, right? It's because he knows he can make money, he's gonna knock the dude out, and he knows he can keep it. So what I'm gonna share with you here is what this is and how you can use it as a private line of credit. Now, here's what I want you to consider. I'm gonna quote my man Einstein one more time. Who knows if he said this, but like, he said compound interest is the eighth world of the wonder. How many of you have heard that? Or eighth wonder of the world? Now, what the heck is compound interest? What is that? What do you guys think? What's compound interest? If it's the eighth wonder of the world, we should probably know what it is. What is compound interest?
Interest on your interest?
Interest on your interest, right? Your money starts having money babies, right? You put it in an account, it gets more interest, and it starts getting bigger and bigger. So what if you could grow your money for 100 years straight? What if you did the one thing I shared with you earlier? You lowered your taxes by 10,000 bucks. You had $10,000, and what if it compounded at a 7% return for 100 years straight? One-time injection of $10,000 would grow into $8.6 million. Okay, but look, compound interest right here is freaking boring, right? There's really not a lot happening. Now, it's really exciting out there, but it's not very exciting right here. And so even though compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, very few people actually earn it. Do you earn compound interest? Most people don't. Here's why. It doesn't get exciting until the compound interest curve starts to take off, but here's what happens to most people's curve. Something like this happens, right? You put your money in some account, knowing and hoping that it's gonna compound and grow, right? It's gonna give you the key to your dreams that you have in the future. But then something happens. A couple of years in, maybe life gets tight, right? Maybe you go through a divorce. Maybe something comes along in your life that is completely uncertain, and what does it do? It knocks you on your butt. Like, that's happened to me several times. And oftentimes, where do we turn? We turn to that reservoir of cash that we had, we take it out, cover the cost of life, right? Our kids have, my oldest son had a heart surgery that like almost bankrupted me. We break compound interest. Now, let's say we don't ever break compound interest due to our own spending, but where do most of us put our money? Do we put our money in accounts that go just like this, constantly and consistently? No, it goes kind of like this, right? So every time we break compound interest, consider this. What if 20 years into this compound curve that I gave you up here, right? We had the opportunity to turn 10,000 into 8.6 million. So anything that doesn't become 8.6 million is opportunity cost. So what if in year 20, so after 20 years of straight compounding at 7%, what if we decided to just spend 20,000 bucks? Something came up, maybe it was time to put a down payment on a house, something like that. We broke our compound interest curve. Now at this point, $10,000 compounding at 7% over 20 years would be right around 40, 50,000 bucks. But if we took $20,000 out, that's not gonna matter too much, right? We only took out half the account. What if 20 years later, we took out, again, half of the account? So 40 years later, we'd have about $70,000 in the account, so we took $35,000 out. And then again, 20 years later, we took again half of the money out of the account. So 3 times, we broke compound interest. Do you guys know what the difference is gonna be? $885,000 is what we end up with. By only breaking compound interest 3 times, by spending $20,000, $35,000, and $60,000, about $110,000, we go from, it could have been, what was it, 7 million, and now it only turns into 836,000. This is why compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, but very few people actually earn it. I'm gonna show you how you can get your money compounding consistently like these dudes and never break the compound interest curve. You guys down for that? Never break the compound interest curve, but also have the opportunity to use your money. So what I'm gonna share with you, these two guys right here, they have over $1.5 billion of the money that they've made in Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway inside of this account. $1.5 billion. Because they know their best investment is to make money. They also know their best strategy is to keep the money that they make. This dude right here, you guys ever watch college football? Remember when Jim Harbaugh went from the NFL to coach the University of Michigan? There was an article that came out, and it was really interesting because they said 35% of his salary went into a very weird type of an account. And everyone writing the article is like, what the heck is this dude doing? 35% of his account, equivalent of his income, $15 million of his income, went into this concept called a vault. Joe Biden, I don't know how he did it, because he's been a benevolent politician his whole life. When he ran for office, he disclosed his financial records. Guess what Joe Biden has? He has 7 of these accounts that I'm going to share with you. There are millions of dollars in these accounts. Millions of dollars. I don't know where he got the millions of dollars. Maybe that's where Ukraine put all the money, or Russia, or wherever. I don't know. But here's what it is. This is an overfunded, cash value focused whole life insurance policy. Now, I want to stop there for just a freaking minute. I just said whole life insurance and like it's the greatest secret on earth. How many of you does that like connect in your brain? Life insurance is the greatest secret. Like, does that make sense to you guys? I mean, when I heard about this, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, when I'm going to invest my money, there's no possible way I'm going to put it in life insurance. But again, let's go back through. This guy has millions of dollars. This guy had $15 million of his salary contributed there. These guys have $1.5 billion in these accounts. Why? Well, let's figure out why it is. When this is set up properly, this actually becomes a bank account. Okay? Becomes a bank account that you can use in a very, very specific way. Number one, when you put your money into one of these accounts, it's going to earn you a guaranteed return backed by a company that's done it for 200 years, or companies. It's going to give you a dividend, so your money is going to be constantly compounding and growing. It's going to be 100% tax-free. It's a private contract, and it allows you to use your private contract and all of the cash that you have in this account as a line of credit. Okay, so let's walk through what this actually means. When most people buy insurance, here's how they do it, okay? I've got a family, I've got 3 kids. Now, anyone in here, probably most of you should have insurance, right? Especially if you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have kids. Now, being in the business I've been in, I've had people die way prematurely, and insurance is super, super important for that. But when most people go to the insurance company, they go to the insurance company and say, look, I want all the life insurance I need to have, or all the life insurance you're gonna give me, but how much money do you wanna pay for it? As little as possible, right? Because the only way you win with life insurance is if you die. And that doesn't feel like winning, right? So that's how most people buy insurance. And again, guys, if you don't have insurance and you have family, you have dependents, you should have as much insurance as you possibly can. But the way the wealthy use insurance is a little bit different. They go and say, hey, insurance company, I want to get an insurance policy where I pay you the most money possible. I want to pay you as much money as I possibly can, but I want you to give me the least amount of insurance for it. Can you imagine sitting down with a life insurance agent and saying, hey, dude, give me the least amount of death benefit and let me write you a really fat check for it? Like, what's that insurance agent gonna do? He's gonna look at you crazy, like you're crazy, right? But why would we wanna do this, right? Nacho Libre doesn't want it, he wants to know, but here's why. All of this extra money that we're putting in this account, it goes in this account and it's called cash value. Okay, I want you to think about money in a bank account. I want you to think about money in a brokerage account, money in equity in a home, anything like that. All it is, it's just a place that we're gonna store our cash, right? Now, once it's in this account, here's how it's going to work. Number one, it's gonna be a private line of credit, and number two, we get to start to function like a bank. Now, in order to do this, I need to understand 2 concepts. If you guys wanna be financially free in 10 years or less, who does it? Who wants it? Number one thing you have to learn is leverage. Okay, leverage is the only possible way you can become financially free in 10 years or less. Whether it's leverage on your active income, like many of you have team members in here, right? That's a form of leverage. It's leverage on your investing, whatever it is, but leverage, all it is, it's measured between the difference between the inputs in a system and an output in a system. If I can put $1 into a system and turn that dollar into $5 or doing 5 jobs, I've got leverage in a system. If I put $1 into a 401k and it only earns me $1 worth of a return, I don't have any leverage in that system. So let's talk a little bit about how this works. You guys already believe in leverage. You want to see how powerful it is? Let's say we buy this home right here, okay? Just to use simple math, let's say I buy this house right here and it costs $100,000. Let's say I own the house, I put in $100,000, I buy it, and at the end of the year, it goes up by 5%, or it goes up by $5,000. My rate of return is 5%, right? $100,000, add 5% return. If I buy the same home, but rather than paying for it all in cash, I only put 20% down, I use leverage, I use the bank's money, it's still appreciated by 5%. You guys wanna know what my return is? 25%. That's how powerful leverage is. It's an amplifier, right? So if this is all true, let's talk about how a bank works really quick, and then I'm gonna show you how you can use a policy in the exact same way. A bank basically has 3 rules. Now, I want each one of you to do me to take a challenge. I've issued this challenge, I've never been proven wrong on it, so I want someone to prove me wrong on this eventually. All banks have 2 things in common. Every single bank, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, local credit union, or any bank. You wanna know what the 2 things are in common? Number 1, video cameras. Why do you think a bank has video cameras? They don't want anyone to steal from them. I'm gonna show you really why they have video cameras here in just a minute. And then number 2, how many of you have ever gone into a bank or gone through the drive-thru, and at the end of you making your little transaction, what do? They give you a sucker, right? Why do banks give out suckers? Have you ever wondered that before? It's not Halloween. And if you ever look at those suckers, usually those suckers are called dum-dums. So let me show you what a bank's actually doing, okay? They have 3 rules. Number 1, they need you to put money in the bank, right? Capitalize. So we're gonna take our money and we're gonna put it in the bank. Now, back a year ago, this was 0, but today banks are paying a little bit of interest, right? 2, 3, 4% maybe, right? So let's say they're paying us 3%. Now, if I go put my $10,000 that I just saved for my taxes in a bank, what's a bank gonna do with it? Are they gonna get a Post-it note out, write Ryan's money on it, let's put it in the safe and wait till he comes back? No, they're gonna do this, right? They're gonna leverage it. They're gonna turn around, lend my $10,000 plus a lot more out on a credit card, a car loan, a home loan, whatever it is. So let's just say for simple math, they're earning 10%. Now, I'm earning 3, they're earning 10. What's the bank's rate of return?
7.
Looks like it, right? 10, right? They're paying me 3. Do you think it might be higher than 10? Is there any possible way a bank's rate of return is higher than 10?
Infinite, because it's not their money.
Not their money. Now that's definitely a good way to look at it. Fractional lending, let's take all of that off the table. Let me show you what their real rate of return is. Let's use this example. Let's say you're gonna open up a hammer store, simple store, right? You're gonna open up a store that sells hammers, okay? You're gonna buy the hammer from the hammer manufacturer for $1. You're gonna turn around and sell it to the consumer who wants a hammer to hang up a picture in their house for $10. Your markup, your spread, you paid 1, you sell it for 10, your markup is $9, but that's a 900% markup from what you bought it for to what you sold it for. A bank's rate of return, if you look at the markup, is 233% return. Do you guys understand that math? It's freaking crazy. The bank markup, what they're pricing money at, went from 3% to 10%. The difference between that in interest rates is a 233% return. So if a bank can earn a 233% markup between the difference of what they're paying for money and what they're earning on money, how many times do they want to loan money out? As often as they possibly can. So the 3 rules of banking are capitalize, leverage, and velocity. Now let's go back to this number right here. Why do banks have video cameras and suckers? Well, number 1, they give us the sucker because we're the sucker. And number 2, they have video cameras so the people who understand how the game works can sit in the back room and say, hey, look at those suckers. I mean, laugh at us a little bit, right? Now, I don't know if they're being that nefarious, but look, guys, that's pretty crazy powerful, is it not? Like if a bank, and you guys know fractional reserve and infinite return, not even considering that, if a bank can pay us 3 but earn 10%, that is a markup of 233%, okay? So you're gonna do the same thing with an insurance policy, believe it or not. You're gonna capitalize it, you're gonna leverage it, and you're gonna move your money. Another thing that Robert Kiyosaki said in his book is savers are losers, right? You guys ever heard that before? Savers are losers? Do you guys know why he said that? Like when you put your money in anywhere, whether it's the stock market, whether it's a brokerage account, whether it's even life insurance, right? If you just stick it there, what's happening to your money over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Inflation's kind of like destroying it, right? right? Whether we think inflation's 3% or 7% or 10% or whatever it is, inflation's destroying it. So if your money doesn't move, you are losing the game. If you're earning 5% but inflation is 3%, which is a lie, what are you really earning? You're only earning 2%. That's why savers are losers. So you have to have the ability to move your money. We live in a world today where money is currency. It no longer can sit idle. The faster it moves, the more money you make. Okay, so here's how it's gonna work. You're gonna capitalize your vault. You're gonna capitalize your life insurance policy. The way this works, you're gonna go to an insurance agent and say, hey dude, I went to this presentation at Vital, amazing company. I know that all my best investments, I'm saving a bunch of money in taxes, I need a place to put it. I'm gonna put it in a life insurance policy, and I'm going to buy a policy in a very specific way that maximizes my cash value and minimizes my death benefits. Here's kind of what that would look like. I just wanted to give you some examples because it's easier when you can visualize this. Let's say you came to me and you're a male, age 41, and let's say you had $100,000. You would come in and I would say, okay, cool. If you're a male age 41, if you put $100,000 into an account, that would immediately give you $92,000 of cash value. Right there, right? We'd buy the least amount of death benefit in the most cost-effective way. You would immediately have $92,000. In year 2, let's say you wanted to save $20,000 a year. Year 2, you put in $20,000. Your cash went from 92 to 109. So your cash value increased by $17,000. It's really easy to see what your cost of insurance is, right? 20,000 in, 17,000 out. Your cost of insurance to have this account would be about $2,500. But by year 3, let's see if I can make the clicker go the right way. By year 3, when you put your money in, you put 20,000 in, 20,000 plus comes out. And for the rest of your life, that remains true. Your money now gets to compound and grow, never breaking, never faltering, never losing, but you get to operate it as a line of credit. I'm gonna come back to the line of credit here in just a minute. Here's another quick example. Putting in $40,000 a year, you put in 40, immediately available to you is 30,000. Easy to see where your cost of insurance is. Year 2, you put in 40, it goes from 31 to 66. Your cost of insurance is basically 5. By year 3, you put in 40, dollar in, dollar out. And now, let's say you put money in for the next 20 years, 40,000 for 10 years, and then 7,500 for another 10. You've put in 475,000. Because you never break compound interest, your money's grown to 477, 700,000, 900,000, 1.1 million. So now it's grown to 1.1 million. Tax-free, 100% guaranteed. And at the end of the day, if anything happens to you, you've got a death benefit. We won't focus on that today, okay? So you've capitalized your vault, you've got money in it. Now you get an opportunity to use leverage just like a bank does. Here's how the leverage works. Your cash value is a line of credit. Your death benefit is collateral. For those of you that own a home, how many of you have equity in a home, and how many of you have ever gone to a bank and say, hey, I want to take a home equity line of credit? Yeah? It's pretty easy, right? The bank looks at your home and says, okay, cool, we're gonna give you that line of credit. We're gonna give you a loan on that line of credit. In addition to that, we're gonna take an added position on your home. If you don't pay back the line of credit, we take your home, right? The insurance company does the same thing. They know that they owe you money. So they allow you to use the cash value as a line of credit, and they know if you die tomorrow, they're gonna pay somebody. They're just gonna pay somebody the death benefit minus the line of credit. So they're using your death benefits collateral, but now you get to leverage the life insurance company's money. Does that make sense? So if I have $100,000 in this account, it's now compounding and growing. I now get to use $100,000 of the insurance company's money to achieve whatever short-term goals I have. So let's walk through this so we can look at the math, okay? All right, so I'm gonna make this really simple, then I'm gonna give you a real estate example to close this off. How many of you have ever bought a car before, right? If you're gonna buy a car, there's really only 2 ways to do it. You're gonna save up cash in a bank, or you're gonna go get a loan from a bank, right? Those are the only 2 options. If you have a policy like this, let's say you take a policy loan of $50,000 from the insurance company. That would mean you have to have $50,000 in your insurance policy, so let's look at the math to see if this thing works. If you're going to take a line of credit from the bank or from the insurance company, your intention is to pay that line of credit off. You want to cycle the money that you would have paid to a bank back to the insurance company. You want to pay that line of credit off, okay? So the way this works, if you've ever had a home mortgage, you know every time you make a mortgage payment, what happens to your payments? A little bit more goes to the payment and a little bit less goes to interest, right? Every single time you make a payment, the arbitrage of what you're paying in interest and what you're paying on the principal, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you're gonna pay the insurance company back, it's a private line of credit, you control it 100%. You can pay it off however and whenever you want. The insurance company will never ask you why you're taking the line of credit, how you're gonna pay it back, when you're gonna pay it back. It doesn't affect your debt to income ratio. It's a private line of credit. But just for the sake of math, let's say you choose to pay it off every single month. Now, you don't have to do this, but the first month you make a payment, let's see, do I have a little line here? Yeah, the first month you make a payment of $943, $735 will go to principal, $208 will go to interest. Your loan balance will go from $50,000 down to $49,000. So the next month you make a payment, same amount, $943, a little bit more goes to principal, a little bit less goes to interest, and your loan balance goes down. If you paid this off over 5 years, you would have literally paid the insurance company for the privilege of borrowing their money $6,600. Does that make sense? So I'm paying the insurance company a simple interest rate loan. My cost is going down every single time, but at 5% simple interest, I'm paying the insurance company $6,600. Now here's the crazy part. On the flip side, did I ever take my money out of this account? I never did, right? It was just a line of credit. At the same time, this money in that account is earning 5%. Now this is where the math gets kind of weird. I'm paying 5%, I'm earning 5%. I'm paying 6%, I'm earning 6%. Whatever we're paying, we're earning. Okay? So how does this work? Compound interest works the exact opposite. If I'm paying 5% and I'm earning 5%, year one I earn 5%, that's $2,500. That $2,500 now rolls into my account. Now next year when I earn 5%, I'm earning around $52,000, so I earn a little bit more money. And over this 5 years, if I paid off the loan over 5 years and kept my money in the account over 5 years, I would have earned $13,000 in interest. Does that make sense? So here's the crazy part. I bought the car, which was exactly what I was going to do anyway. Rather than using the bank, I used my account, I used my system. I paid the insurance company $6,600. I earned $13,000. I ended up with an arbitrage of $7,200. But here's the magic. Did I break compound interest? No. I got to achieve a short-term goal, and I didn't break compound interest. Now, that might not seem like much to you. But guys, if you understood what I went through earlier of having your money continuously compounding, the only way you get to harness the value of compound interest is if you never break the curve. If your money is guaranteed to never lose, and you have access to using your money but without taking it out of the account, do you ever break compound interest? Never. Okay, now here's the crazy part. Like I said, I was learning about this in the back of the class. My mind felt like this. Now I want to apply it to an investment like real estate. How many of you have ever considered investing in real estate before? Okay, few of you. I'm going to highly encourage all of you as part of your game plan to have real estate. Whether you own it directly, whether you're syndicated in it, real estate is a way. What if you could put your money in a place where you actually made money because of inflation? Like what if inflation made you wealthier instead of poorer? Like would that be a pretty simple concept? What happens to the cost of real estate every single year? Why? Because of inflation. If I own that real estate, what do I get to take a benefit in? I get to make money because of the way the economy is ran. Okay, so let me give you an example. What if, I'm gonna skip this guy right here. Oh, banks. Like we just talked about banks. Do you guys know where banks keep their money? So banks have a standing order to buy as much of as much cash value as they possibly can. At the close of 2023, I think was the last time I updated this, they had $75 billion in cash value. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, 3,200 US banks, they don't even keep their own money. The money that they have to keep in reserve in banks, they put it in these accounts. So the last thing I'm gonna share with you is, I'm gonna skip right here and I'm gonna go, okay. I'm gonna skip my story. I'm just gonna skip all the way through this. And I'm gonna get right to the strategy here. Okay, here we go. So what if I showed you, what if I gave you a proposition that you could double your real estate return just by doing things more effectively? Does anyone believe that? Like double your real estate return just by doing something more effectively. Not changing the real estate that you buy the exact same piece of real estate, but do it more effectively. Let me walk you through an example here, okay? I'm gonna skip this, I might come back to a little bit of it. Okay, so let me walk you through an example. What if we had our money in a vault, high cash value life insurance, and what if we had our money compounding in two places at once? It's compounding in the life insurance policy, and it's gonna be compounding and growing in real estate. What if we could do these two things simultaneously? Okay, so let me walk you through this. Very, very simple example here, okay? Let's say we buy a property, and the reason I'm keeping these numbers pretty simple, is just to keep the math simple. So let's say we buy a property for $100,000, okay? Now, we're probably not going to be able to buy real estate today for $100,000. So double this, triple this, whatever it is, the math is going to be the same. So we buy it for 100,000 bucks. Let's say we rent it out for $1,000 and we can keep it rented every single year for 30 years for 1,000 bucks. Rent never goes up, rent never goes down. Let's also say, in addition to that $1,000 that we're collecting in rent, $400 every single month goes out the door in just operating expenses, vacancy, repairs. It might not go out every month, but we know 40% of our collected rent is going to go to some expense of owning the real estate. You guys down with me on that number? So if this is all true, if I buy it for $100,000, I hold it for 30 years, after I collect $1,000 worth of rent every single month for 30 years and back out 40% in expenses, I have $216,000 in cash flow. If it appreciates by 5%, the value is going to go from 100,000 to 242. If it's now worth 242 and I have 216 in cash flow, I back out the $100,000. I profited $350,000 by owning that real estate. Right? Pretty simple. You guys follow that? So what if I use life insurance instead? Okay, same exact real estate, same exact strategy, same exact expenses, but now rather than taking the $100,000 out of a bank account to buy the property, I took it out of a policy or from a life insurance company instead, and I pay the life insurance company back over 30 years. In order to do that, I need to pay $536 a month, plus I still have 40% of my collected rent going to operating expenses, so I didn't collect that much cash flow. Right? Most of my money went to paying back the life insurance company and to operating the property. It's still worth the same amount it was going to be worth, so 242. I only collected 22,000. I bought it for 100,000 bucks. So on the real estate alone, I only have a profit of 165. Over here, I had a profit of 358. But where's the real value? That $100,000 in a vault, it never came out of the vault, right? So compounding at a guaranteed rate of return every single year for 30 years, that turns into 574,000 bucks. If I take my profit from the real estate and the profit from the vault, I'm at 739. It didn't quite double my real estate return, but I got pretty dang close. All I did is I just operated a better system. That's it. Rather than taking the money out of a bank account, I took it out of a life insurance policy. You guys with me on all of that? I threw a lot of information at you guys today, but all of it was really comes down to this one thing. If you want to be financially free, your best investment is number one, making more money. There is nothing better than that. Increase your mindsets, increase your skill sets, invest in your network. This room right here will make you better. The trainings that Aaron and Tyler and the rest of the Vital team provide will make you better. And when you're better, you get to solve more problems, create more value, and make more money. The fastest path for you to becoming financially free is taking the money, earning the money, exchanging the money that other people have for the value that you can create. Then step number two, don't lose money. Like, it's really that simple. Stop giving so much money to the IRS. Use the tax playbook, not just the default tax strategy. And then protect your money from future taxation using life insurance and buy real assets. This is, for me, really what this game is all about. Seeing the end from the beginning. All of us want the exact same thing. We all want financial freedom. The question is, how do we get it in a way that's more predictable? How do we get it in a way that we have more control over? And how do we get it in a way that's faster? I don't want to trade the next 30 or 40 years of my life using a system that I don't have control over, hoping that when I arrive at 65, I have enough money. I want to use my money in a way that I have a guaranteed result and I get to dictate what I invest in and the outcome of those investments. Now, last thing I'm going to share with you guys, okay? And I've thrown so many numbers. I was really hesitant, but I wanted you guys to see this from the beginning. What did I tell you? That taxes are the greatest destroyer of wealth, right? We want to reduce our taxes on our active income, and we want to eliminate them on our passive income. How did Donald Trump lean into the microphone and say, that makes me smart? Do you know where all of Donald Trump's income comes from? Real estate. Now, here's another thing about real estate that very few people understand. In the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki said so many mind-blowing things in there that just most people don't understand. Do you guys know one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki said in his book is debt is money? You guys ever heard that before? Debt is money? Now, let's consider this for just a minute, okay? We live in a world driven by debt today. Like, our government loves the concept of debt, right? Now, if Visa sends you a brand new credit card in the mail, okay, it has a $30,000 limit on it, right? And you go out and you sign your name on that Visa card and you go spend $30,000, what just happened to your personal economy that year? You had $30,000 more to spend, right? You didn't have to work any harder at Vital. You had $30,000 more to spend. If you went and bought shoes and clothes and vacations, what did you do for that debt though? You traded your future time to pay back that debt. But at the end of the day, did you have to tell the IRS, hey, I made all this money at Vital and I made $30,000 more from Visa? No, debt was money. You got to spend it however you want. Now, most people spend it like consumers. But if you understand the debt equation, guess what? You can use debt as an investor. And this is how you get to the I quadrant, where you pay 0 in taxes. You guys ready for this? Let me share with you a very simple approach here. Now, Aaron, you mentioned this book. I didn't tell you much of my backstory, so really quick before I get into this last part. I started off very traditional. Went to school. I dropped out of high school. When I decided to get my act back together, all of the social conditioning that we're all brought up with, it all just kind of clicked into my brain. Once I got my act together around 22, 23, I thought, man, I got to go to school. All right, I went and got my GED, I went to college, and I started climbing the corporate ladder as fast as I could. That was my goal. I'm gonna just climb the ladder, I'm gonna make as much money as I can, and my goal back in the day was to retire in my 50s. That's all I could think about. I just wanna retire early. That's all I want, right? So as I climbed the corporate ladder, over the first couple of years, it was kind of exciting. I went from making $32,000 out of college, you can laugh at me now if you want, but $32,000 out of college to making over $150,000 in 4 years. And as I was climbing the corporate ladder, in the beginning, it was kind of exciting. But every rung of the corporate ladder I climbed, I started making trade-offs. And I didn't realize them in the moments. But I started trading more of my time. I started trading more of my sanity. I started trading my spirituality. I started trading my physical health and well-being. I had to work more. Every promotion came with more hours, more employees, more responsibility, more stress, more obligation. And I found myself twice in my corporate career living in a different state than my family. I traveled so much. I didn't have the Vital lifestyle where I got to travel for 10 days. I traveled for like 99% of my days. And so I would live in one state, I would come home on the weekends to spend time with my family, and you can imagine what kind of husband, what kind of father I was. And after 4 years of this pursuit of wanting to retire early, after 4 years, I was in a position where I had lost a bunch of money in the stock market. My 401k dropped like a rock in 2008, and I realized traditional finance wasn't gonna work for me, especially if I wanted to retire early with more control. But the biggest loss that I had was shortly after my 401k dropped, my oldest son, who was born with a heart defect. His name is Doug. And we knew about it from the beginning. We monitored it, we tracked it, we watched it. But I'll never forget, one day I got a call from my wife. I lived in Indianapolis at the time. My family lived in Texas. And she told me that my oldest son, Doug, was gonna need an emergency open heart surgery. And at that moment, I realized everything I had been pursuing didn't matter if I was gonna lose the most important thing in my life. And so over the next couple of weeks, as I spent time in the hospital with my son, I decided to change everything about my life. How I worked, how I interacted with my family, how I saved, how I invested. I didn't want to throw away the future. I wanted to figure out a way to take more control over my future, but be more present in the moment. And I'll never forget, I read this book right here. This book right here freaking changed my life. I remember exactly where I was, exactly how I felt. Because in this book, you can see right here, it says, retire in 10 years using Robert Allen's 7 Principles of Wealth. We were in the parking lot, and I can't remember who said this, talking a little bit earlier. And when I was given a challenge like this, I knew I could do anything for 10 years. How many of you feel like this? If you know that you had a defined outcome for a short period of injection of putting effort into it, I knew I could do anything for 10 years. So whatever was gonna be outlined in this book, I decided to follow it. And you know what he said you should do in this book? It sounds so crazy, but I'm gonna give you this strategy. He said, all you have to do is buy 2 single-family homes a year for 10 years. That's it. Now, I want you guys to consider this. Do you think you could find a way to earn enough money to buy 2 single-family homes and turn those 2 single-family homes into rental homes for 10 years? I think you probably could, right? I was making barely over $70,000 when I figured out how to do this myself. Now, he said if you do that, at the end of 10 years, you'll be completely financially free. So let me walk you through how this actually works. If we buy 2 homes for 10 years, at the end of 10 years, we would have bought 20 single-family homes. Now, let's say in year 1, we bought our 2 homes. Year 2, we bought our 2 homes. Year 3, we bought our homes all the way down. In year 11, what does financial freedom actually mean? Okay, it's income that comes from our assets. We talked a little bit about that, right? We want our assets to produce income for us. Now, some of the biggest destroyers of our wealth will be future taxation. So let's figure out how we can use real estate and life insurance to eliminate future taxation. So let's say I bought each one of these homes. for $130,000. Now, again, today, I want you guys to consider this. There are still opportunities to buy real estate, primarily in the Midwest, for about this price. Aaron, you and I were just dealing with one of our property managers today on a property that we bought in Arizona. How much did we buy that property for back in the day?
90 grand?
90 grand. Today it's worth what? 450,000. That's just one of them. But today in the Midwest, you guys know you can still buy, and I should have put some pictures up here, but you could buy properties in good neighborhoods for somewhere between 150, 160, right? And if we're using leverage, you don't have to have 150, 160,000 bucks. But let's say in this example, we bought 2 homes for 130,000 bucks. In year 11, we're gonna go back to these 2 homes. Now, if we own these homes over the last 10 years, what has happened? They've gone up in value. Our tenants have paid down our mortgage for us, right? Injecting equity into the property. We still have all of these properties, and if we're buying them as rentals, they should be cash flowing. We did everything through our vault, right? So we've used our line of credit. Now we're gonna see how our vault works as a source of income. So let's consider this. If all they did is go up by the market rate of appreciation, they're now worth $435,000. Bought them for $260. Collectively, now they're worth $435. Our remaining mortgage, right? We bought that fixed rate mortgage. Our tenant was slowly paying it down for us over those 10 years. We now owe $175. What does this mean? We have equity inside of our real estate of $259,000. We can go to any bank in the world and we can take a 75% cash out refi. Now remember what Robert Kiyosaki said, debt is money. It all just comes down to how we use the debt. So if we took out a new mortgage, our mortgage would go from 175 to 326. That means the bank would literally write us a check for 150,000 bucks. Now, when I get ready to file my taxes at the end of the year, what do I have to tell the IRS about that $150,000? Nothing? Why? It's a loan. Who's paying that loan off for me? Tenants. What's happened to my rent over this 10 years? I've slowly raised it, right? So yeah, my mortgage just went up, but what's happened to my rent? Well, it's gone up too. It's paying off my mortgage for me over the next 10 years. But I get to take $150,000, 100% of my account, 100% tax-free. I don't tell the IRS anything about it, and I'm not breaking any rules whatsoever. I'm not gonna be audited, I'm not gonna be fined, I'm not gonna be thrown in jail. This is why Donald Trump leaned into the microphone and said, what'd he say? That makes me smart. Okay, now, in addition to this, I still own 18 other properties. If those are cash flowing, guess what else? I get $44,000 in cash flow from my portfolio. What do I have to do with that money? Do I have to claim that? No. Because I'm using the tax code, I get to write off all of my expenses owning a piece of real estate, which means all of that is tax-free money. And if everything to buy, like if all of the money that I bought these properties with went through a vault, I'd have enough money at that point to take out about $50,000 a year in tax-free money, not a loan, tax-free money out of my vault, giving me $250,000 of tax-free money. Does that, like, let me just double check my numbers there. Yeah, that's $250,000. That's $244,000. Like, what could you guys do with $244,000 of spendable money today? And how is that possible? It just came from 2 stupid single-family homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in middle America. Now, you guys might be thinking, okay, that's great, but I don't want to be financially free for 1 year. What about year 12? Well, in year 12, we just go back to year 2. And guess what? It was all inflation adjusted, right? 2 years later, or 1 year later, I take my next properties. $276 is what I bought them for. I had to pay a little bit more because I bought them 1 year after the first properties. So the cost of them went up a little bit. So I bought them for a little bit more. They're worth a little bit more. I still have a remaining mortgage. I still have equity. I take a 75% cash out refi. I still get $158, and I still have cash flow coming from everywhere else. What do I do in year 13? Well, I just keep the process going every single year. Now, your game plan might look a little bit different than this. Well, what about year 21, right? Do I still want to, like, I'm 44 today. Do I still want to be financially free at 54? Probably, right? So what do I do in year 21? Well, I just start all over. I go back to year 11, and I say, I bought these properties back 20 years ago now. I refied them once in year 11. Well, is it possible I could do it again? I bought them for $260 originally. Market value now, because they've continued to appreciate, is now $717. Remaining mortgage is $273. I have $443,000. Now, don't let that number deceive you. That's a future 20-year number, so that inflation is hedged into that. So it's still $443. It just won't feel like $443 20 years out. But again, at the end of the day, I get to take $264,000 out, $90,000 in cash flow, $50,000 a year for my vault, $400,000 in tax-free, inflation-adjusted income.
Do you make any changes to this with
Totally. Yep, there's definitely strategies. We won't get into that. It's a little bit deeper. Take the general concept and know that the general concept works. Yep, for 100% sure. So let me just give you a quick case study for me, and then I'll close this out because I've shared tons of numbers with you today. This is me at 30. This is right after my son had his heart surgery. This is me in my second home, wondering how the heck I'm gonna make it as a father. How am I going to be present? How am I going to take care of the future? What am I going to do? I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, I read Robert Allen's book, and I put everything into practice. Now this guy right here is the bravest guy I know, because all I did is acted on faith. I didn't know. I could see the end from the beginning in a book, but I didn't know what would happen here. But 2 years ago, it was pretty interesting. This is my wife, Bethany. She's a spicy lady. Oh, Crystal's here. Crystal knows Bethany. She is very spicy. She's feisty. And she supported me in a crazy adventure these last 10 years. And a couple years ago, she came to me and she said, Ryan, I've supported you in your dreams. I was like, honey, you have. Thank you. And then she asked me the hardest question I've ever been asked in my life. Are you going to support me in mine? I was like, of course I'm going to support you in your dreams. Of course. And then I looked around for a minute. I thought for a minute. I said, well, what are your dreams? A stupid husband. So don't take that as like good advice. What are your dreams? Duh. Right? And she's like, well, Ryan, I've always wanted to build a house. I've always wanted to build a house. And I thought, okay, cool. How bad can that be? Now, it turns out her dreams are way more expensive than my dreams. But at the end of the day, yeah, we decided to build a house. And I remember we sat down, we looked at our entire real estate portfolio. We'd leveraged it a couple times to build our portfolio a little bit bigger, but we'd never really done a major, equity distribution on our portfolio. And we'd been building it for 10 years. And so we sat down, we looked at our portfolio, we looked at where she wanted to build. We built a house in Highland. Tyler's been there, Aaron's been there. It's right by the mountains. She sold me because I love mountain biking, and right here's all my favorite mountain biking trails. So we sat down, we bought the property, and then we built the house. And here's how we paid for it. This is the very first rental property I bought. Does that guy right there look like it's gonna make me a multimillionaire? No. I can tell you some horror stories with this property. I won't do that today. But I bought this property in 2010. I bought it for $159. At the time, it rented for $1,250. It's been relatively monthly cash flow positive. I've had some issues with it, but been relatively cash flow positive. I put about $18,000 out of my pocket to buy that property. I still own it today. In 2015, I took $35,000 of equity out of the property to buy another property. I did a little teeny cash out refi. But in 2021, it was worth $533,000. Okay, $533,000. My tenants had been paying down my mortgage over the last 10 years. I had $167,000 in equity in that property. I remember when the guy came to do the cash out refi, he's like, dude, this is the biggest number I've ever seen. What are you gonna do with that money? I'm like, well, hey, you're coming back tomorrow because I'm taking more money out of the rest of my portfolio. So we took 167 out. It was equivalent to 40 years of cash flow. Now, Aaron, we did this in a couple of our properties. I can't remember. We took 80, 90, whatever it was. But here's, so that's the 167 coming out of the account to hit my bank account. I have a LLC that holds 5 different properties, and out of that, we took $772,000 out of those 5 properties. And I routed everything through my insurance policy. So this is one of my insurance policies. There's $1.7 million of cash value. Why? Because I want to keep all of the money I make. When I took equity, where did I put it? I just put it in my insurance. I just built up that cash value as big as I could possibly make it, right? So I've got 1.7, I've got 5.1 million in death benefit. I have other policies as well. But look, all of my money is in this system, right? It's in life insurance and real estate. And what did I do? I used that money to build this house. Multi-million-dollar house, 100% tax-free. I still own all of the assets that I used to build it, and I claimed none of the income. I'm gonna just I've never done this before, but I'm gonna do it right here. That makes me smart. That makes me smart. Like, that's Donald Trump stuff right there. Guys, that's the game. Does that make sense? That's the game. The rules of the game are written. You just need to understand how to read the rules and play the game as it's meant to be played. I want you to consider this. You're playing the game of money whether you like it or not. You're either playing to win, or by default, you're playing to lose. My invitation for you is to play the game of money to win. Money is a wonderful, amazing tool to enhance the quality of your life, to give you more experiences, to give you more options and more freedom in your life. The way you're going to harness what I've shared with you today is by following through on the Vital model. You are already uncommon. It's time now to be uncommon with your financial strategies. So with that being said, I think that's Financially Vital. That's where I'm going to close it out today, Aaron.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, buddy.
That was amazing. You got me on this? Everybody here okay? No? I got a yes and a no. That better? Yeah, that's way better. All right, guys, can we all give it up for him one more time for reals? Guys, I really want to tell Ryan thank you. There's a reason we invited Ryan back, you guys, and by popular demand, a lot of people made requests to hear more from Ryan. We've had some incredible speakers come talk to us when we do these smart money events. And another one, by the way, we have Mendez in the back, so we should probably give him a round of applause because we appreciate the support. He's come to show. He's spoken to us twice as well. So to be able to continue to have people show up that just want to help, support, provide value, give back because they've made it to a point in their career where they figured the game out and they want to just help other people do the same, it's a huge deal. And massive props to Aaron too, because every single time Aaron has put a lot of time and energy into the relationships with the individuals he's invited to come here. And I know how passionate Aaron gets just about financial literacy and some of the decisions he was able to make, early on in his career. Truly hope you guys recognize how powerful this stuff is. You guys are sitting on an opportunity, a lot of us got an opportunity 20 years ago, and what I feel like some of us got back then and others just didn't, and it's nowhere near the same as what we're dealing with right now, is not as many people had made it in our career, in our industry, to financial wealth. Well, they had these tools, they understood it, and they were able to come give back and say, hey, don't be stupid with your money. And I'm seeing it far more and more now, and it's something we take serious in this business, you guys, because we know what it feels like to be in a position where you're young, you have an opportunity to make money, and maybe you don't know what to do with it. And we really feel like it is an insane part of our job in our positions right now to make sure we are at least putting that in front of people. And one thing I really want to just give Ryan credit for is he's done a phenomenal job of taking things that, even though sometimes it may feel slightly complicated to just wrap your head around tax strategy and what to do with your money and opening a vault like this, and is that the right way to do it? Look, there is no perfect way to invest. There's a lot of different places you could put your money. But I really do love the way Ryan takes a strategy of walking you through step by step. And what's cool about his business is it literally does it from start to finish. So a couple of you guys in the beginning asked, do you do tax strategy? So let me be clear, where I've gone and placed some money with Ryan and others have chosen to do so, it's really nice because they literally they do an entire tax plan for you, then they file your taxes for you, then they open money for your vault for you, then they find the single family properties, that's what they're experts at, for you. They bring you the property, allow you to invest, then they even have companies that property manage that for you, top to bottom. It is an end-to-end solution for someone who says, hey, I'm not really sure exactly what I want to do. Maybe I'm not that connected to others who have opportunities they've brought to me, but if you're telling me I can do it start to finish all the way through, at the end, you're going to do this, this is a great place to get started. And if you end up feeling really safe and comfortable with what it is, it's a great place to continue along with whatever else you choose to invest to. He's done a phenomenal job, and one thing we've had him do as well, which we're really grateful for, is he's created an entire step-by-step course with Aaron on just the basics of financial literacy, on what to do when you get your first $1,000 in your bank account and more. And we've now created a course, and that very soon is going to be fully edited and uploaded into our stage 1 in the Uncommon Academy. So when you guys hire new reps and you bring them into the business, it helps them start to manage their money out of the gate so that they have more of it, they can stay in the job longer and get to a place where they're making more. So once again, thank you guys for doing everything that you've done. I hope you guys appreciate that. Leverage that in recruiting. Leverage that for yourselves while you're here. And overall, I hope you guys continue to take advantage of the opportunity we have in this business right now. 2023 was a pretty wild year financially for the entire industry with how many changes got made. But I think all of you know, and if you don't, right now what we're sitting on with some of the products we have, I would without question say this is the best time we've ever had in solar, period, point blank. And then on top of it, when you add the advantages we have right now with our new partnerships with Freedom, the lower pay scales, the increased vision with the equity plans, Because there's absolutely no reason we do not take the momentum that we've continued to gain over the last 4 months and turn into the largest solar company over time, period. It's the only place we're headed. Get on board with that. Make sure you guys are taking a bigger advantage of it now. When Ryan talks about step one being to increase your income, it's the easiest way to go become financially free. Control what you can control. Go actually buy all the way in. Don't be the one who just goes to sell 2s and 3s to make your paychecks. Like, that's not it. That's not the game. And we still have far too many people floating by in this industry that have decided they're going to live paycheck to paycheck selling 2s and 3s. It is the 10s. It is double digits. That is where people need to be thinking to go change the game completely and put yourself like truly in a position where you can take advantage of it. So I'm not going to take any more time we have. I know it's been a longer night. Everybody's probably hungry. So last thing I'm going to end with, cafeteria. We have food for everybody. There's Chick-fil-A that's been brought in, just so you guys know. So we've got some food if you're hungry. And then one more thing, and the nice part about this is based on Ryan's definition, this is a tax write-off. But credit to Caden Lib. If you guys don't know, we've had a lot of people ask when we come into the office, can we get some swag? Do you guys have some extras lying around? And because everything's been online, the answer is no, we literally don't. Like, it's just online. Go to the store. So in order to not give that response anymore, we have officially opened our miniature store inside the office. It is called the Leaky Faucet because that is where you get all your vital drip. We have officially opened it, and we have some stuff back there. And if you guys want to go be some of the first ones to get some of that apparel, you can go back there, pick what you want. There's some customizable stuff. Then you just go on social, take a picture of yourself in it to advertise for your business, and then you write your new stuff off. So anyways, we are done tonight. Thank you for everybody online that joined us. Thank you guys for coming out. Let's go have a good time.
Maybe I just